Draft Show is back on live from 3rd and Home in Germantown. Jared Selman, Mark Howard, Teron Davenport, Chris Sanders. It's time to go inside the locker room. Presented by Freedom Tire, guys. Chris Sanders takes us there. Chris, taking a look at the Tennessee Titans roster. What do you make of today and what the Titans need to get done?
I mean, if you look at the Tennessee Titans were outstanding on offense. They had Henry, they had A.J. Brown, they had Tannehill, and they were one of the best prolific offenses in the league. But the one thing that they struggle with, not offense, is they struggle on defense. We got to address the defensive side of the ball. I mean, if you look at the pressure that they put on the quarterback, it was absolutely none. I mean, if you look at how many sacks they had 19 sacks. How many games we have during the year?
16.
16, and you got 19 sacks. That means they got to improve it. And then they went out in the free agency to get Dupree, and they got Autry to put pressure on the quarterback. The only thing that I'm concerned about is about Dupree. And the reason why I say Dupree, I understand that he's great at what he does, but he's coming off an ACL. So I think that the Tennessee Titans definitely need to address the edge rushing position. And the guy that I keep talking about all day long, yesterday, the day before, I can't pronounce his name, is Ojulari. He just makes your defense better. And we talk about putting pressure on the quarterback, because if you look at the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs when they were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, why couldn't Mahomes complete any passes? It's because he was getting harassed. And that's I think that's exactly what the Tennessee Titans need to do. They need to figure it out on defense. They need to get a corner. They need to get a pass rusher. And if they get a pass rusher, they definitely can turn this defensive situation around.
So do you feel if they have to go pass rusher first?
I don't think they have to. I don't know what that was. I got kind of scared.
It woke up everybody in the building, I think.
But I know everybody may feel comfortable with Dupree, and that might kind of shy away and not getting a pass rusher. But I don't know if his knee's going to hold up the whole season, because he hurt his ACL later on in the season.
That's the issue.
That's the issue. And I'm not saying he's not a great player, because I'm telling you, I watch him on film. He's a dog. He's going to give you 110%. But you're talking about a position where you got to twist and turn. You got to have body lean, and I don't know if he can handle that. So if they go out and get Ojulari, did I pronounce it right? Ojulari, or they get Phillips from the University of Miami, you still will have some good players if Dupree is not in that position.
Mark, what do you think about Chris going right to pass rusher?
I can understand it. I think it just depends on who's taken before. If Ojulari's gone, I'm not as big on Phillips, and I think the Titans are probably antsy about him too. I mean, he's one concussion away perhaps from retirement, and that does scare you.
Yeah.
Rousseau is intriguing because you can't unwatch what he did 2 years ago, but he's a guy that everybody is kind of mixed on, and I understand that. But he's big, he's tall, he's got that reach, and he knows how to use it a lot of times. But there are a lot of people who are sort of down on him. I just think the Titans can't do what happened the year they took Kevin Dodd. If you break it down, that mistake in the draft ended up costing the Titans. I mean, how many rush linebackers did they bring? How many draft picks did they spend? To band-aid that position.
Yep.
What the Titans need is a reliable guy on his first contract to come in here and take some of the pressure off cap-wise. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep your really good players.
Yeah, and that's important, what you said. Gregory Rousseau, I get the 15 sacks, but how many of them came from the outside? Right? He's not rushing the passer from the outside effectively. He's mostly an interior guy. So it's attractive. I get where you're going. But I think when you look at this whole thing, there's a guy out of Washington.
Joe Tryon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a walking heat.
And he'll always be trying.
He'll always be trying. Yeah, I told him, I had him on talking with TD. I said, man, I saw you on your workout. You look like a human He-Man dog. You know what I mean? But the dude is long. We're talking like 6'5", 260. And you watch the way he and Levi Onwuzurike, they were playing together really well. He comes off the edge. He has a series of moves. Yeah. He's got bend. He's someone that I've seen compared to Chandler Jones. I think that's a little rich. But I've seen like my guy Emory Hunt. He compared him to Montez Sweat, and there is a comparison there. And he's another one that has a motor.
And I think too, even if they don't get a pass rusher in or edge rusher in the first round, there's still some guys that I'm kind of looking at also. I mean, looking from The Ohio State University, Jonathan Cooper. From,
yes.
You know, I mean, he's a dog now.
He got a heavy head,
He's
man.
Yes, he does. I mean, he only had like 3 sacks, but that's okay. But he's consistently around the ball. And then you have another guy from Everson Smith from Northern Iowa. Nobody's talking about these guys that the Tennessee Titans can actually draft in later rounds to make that defense even better.
Quincy Rochet out of Miami.
No doubt.
He's another one, you know, on the backside of Jalen Phillips. You know, he's a Temple transfer. I really like him a lot. And he's not going to wow you with measurables, but that guy's a football player.
No doubt.
And last time I checked, you don't wear shorts and T-shirts on the football field anyway. So I like that. You know, he's someone. Carlos Boogie Basham is another guy, just one of those heavy hands. I mean, that dude is like, you see him put hands on somebody like they move, you know, and they get out the way.
When you see what's going on in the NFL, TD and Chris and Jared, with these shifting fronts, you know, Titans aren't always in the 3-4.
Yep.
And you saw what Tampa Bay did last year with Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea, you know, dominating from inside. Does it give you some pause to maybe draft a guy like Barmore, who's raw, but who everybody says, you know, is a man-child and could end up being just, you know, incredible?
And that's the thing. This guy is getting a lot of momentum towards the Titans. I'll say this. I like Onwuzurike better.
I know, yeah.
Because he plays every down. You got to see him on first, second, and third down. You have to. And he reestablishes that line of scrimmage.
Guys, you ready to do it?
Is it on? Is it time?
Go.
It's time. Coming up next, the Jacksonville Jaguars go on the clock for the start of the 2021 NFL Draft. We are live at 3rd and Home in Germantown. It's the Draft Show on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
has arrived.
Welcome, football fans.
Live from the stage on Broadway. This is Draft Day in Nashville.
The first pick.
Brought to you by Smile Direct Club, Richards Bespoke, Gary Force Acura, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and Boomba's Craft.
All right, it is the Draft Show, ESPN 1025. The Game. Mark Howard is here at 3rd and Home in Germantown. TD is here. Chris Sanders is here.
What's up, baby?
Guys, Roger Goodell is about to put the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. One thing I feel like we should start today's show off with. First of all, we are going to have limited commercial interruptions, 1 commercial break per hour, and we will be sure to take it when ESPN is on air. When ESPN is off air, we will be on air. But just think about where we are right now, 3rd and Home, packed up here at 3rd and Home. Still a little bit of room, though, if you want to get in, and compare it to last year and where we were for the NFL draft. And how different times are now.
Dadgummit, I was on my fripping couch, man.
I was watching Judge Judy.
Oh, 17th episode?
No, 18. She's getting cuter by the day, boss.
Before we get to the top of the draft, this coming in from Mark Schlereth on 104.3 The Fan in Denver. Says the Broncos are not taking a quarterback because they are close to trading for Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, my God.
According to his sources, Schlereth says, quote, as close to a done deal as it can be.
Oh, my God.
They went from 30-1 odds to 10-1, and the deal hasn't even been made. How about that?
Wow.
I mean, Dad, I thought, what can you say to that, man?
I don't know what to say.
That's bad news for the whole AFC, man.
And they got some talent over there, too.
What do you think the deal is, though? Like, what do you think they're getting in return?
I would say the 9th pick this year, Drew Lock.
Their first next year.
And probably a 3rd this year. Something. It's going to be a collection of picks, man. That's the reigning MVP of the league.
That's crazy. I don't get it. I mean,
Matt LaFleur, man.
I told him.
I would love to know. I'd love to ask Aaron Rodgers, what would make you happy? He's never happy.
He's never happy.
But that's
not
his
talking
twist.
to his family. No, not talking to the Packers.
Yeah.
Threw
Mike McCarthy under the bus, which was easy to do. But essentially, what's going to make Aaron Rodgers happy? He was on a perennial Super Bowl contender. Packers were good every year in one of the great, markets, football markets in the NFL, maybe the best market. Unique, and all of that Green Bay brings to you. He goes to Denver where, obviously they've got a rabid fan base, and maybe this gets him over the top when you look at who Denver has on defense. But wow.
But what makes you mad? I mean, I agree with you. What is making you mad that you are so upset that you want to go to another team when you are a couple of games away from going to the Super Bowl? I don't listen, and I'm being very respectful. Aaron Rodgers, it's not about you. It's about you making that team better. And I don't understand to where you have all the pieces in place. You have wide receivers. You have an offensive line that could get better. You got a defense that's getting better and better each and every year. What would make you happy to stay there? I don't get it.
Well, the other thing, too, is, Teron, and I'm sure you've heard it from your colleagues, I don't think the last 5 years were hunky-dory for Tom Brady in New England.
No.
But you got to big picture it and say, you know what? I've got a team I can win a Super Bowl with every year. Well, it's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not quite New England, but, Denver, Denver, like I said, has a good defense. With Rodgers there, maybe that transforms them. But their offensive line right now is like non-existent. They're going to have to rebuild that, and we'll be wondering if Aaron will whine about that if they don't get it done right.
You already know he will. But the good thing is Aaron Rodgers is one of those classic quarterbacks that is always able to succeed despite the offensive line. Interesting nugget, though, on Packers quarterbacks. No Packers QB has played 17 seasons for them.
Wow.
16 years and up for Brett Favre, 16 years and up for Bart Starr, and guess what? 16 years and up for Aaron Rodgers. It's just crazy to me that this Broncos thing is going to go down, though. I just, man, all you can do is just shake your head at it. But
I mean, we always talk about how Aaron Rodgers holds grudges. Well, clearly he held the grudge from last. This is about the Jordan Love thing, right?
That's what it is. That's it right there.
Like the Jordan Love last year trade back into the first round, no wide receiver. And look, I think it motivated Aaron to have the season it did. I do. I think that's how you motivate Aaron. The problem is you can push Aaron up to that point, but then you got to hold it back. And this time Aaron went up over the cliff, and that's it for the Green Bay Packers. And I would just say this. Matt LaFleur, I mean, you take the Green Bay job because of Aaron Rodgers. And, I don't want to say coaching cost them the NFC title game, but it certainly didn't help.
Game management was not good.
It was not good.
Right. Kicking that field
And
goal.
now Drew Lock is your starting quarterback next year in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
You know, before Jordan Love, you know who's the last skill player on offense this team drafted?
Oh.
You ready for this? Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, my God.
In the first round.
Wow.
That's the last time they took a skill player on offense in the first round. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be mad about that.
But you know what concerns me? We always, and this is no disrespect, I respect him as a player, but we always talk about guys being a professional. I think sometimes we as athletes, we hold grudges and we hold on to the emotions. I agree with Mark. You got to look at the big picture. You got to look at, okay, we're in position to make a run to the Super Bowl, but then you just made it about you. You went to the owner. You went to the general manager. You went to the head coach and say, listen, I'm not happy here. What does that say? This says, I want to go somewhere where I think it feels good, but it ain't about you. It's about taking this team and taking these players to a Super Bowl.
What they say, the grass ain't always greener, right?
Yeah.
They say that.
And you're talking about a guy, and I understand that he might be a young 37 or young 38, but we've only seen one quarterback able to elude Father Time. Mm-hmm. Peyton Manning didn't do very well at it. Joe Montana went downhill fast, Steve Young, all these guys. Aaron Rodgers, how many good years does he really have left, and is it worth rolling the dice? I guess for Denver it is.
Hey, if I was Vic Fangio and I'd had 2 years of doing nothing,
is different from Brady. You know what I mean? He relies on that athleticism. He relies on going off schedule.
Yeah.
He relies on freelancing. That's when he's at his best. So, it could take a bad turn, but I don't think it's going to happen for a couple years. So guess what? Broncos are in good shape for now.
Do you think if this deal gets done, we would have to assume that it gets done before the 9th pick tonight, right?
Oh, man.
I would assume so. I would assume.
You can't do the NBA thing where you take that guy and then trade him to me, right?
You can. You can, but I would assume that deal is going to be done. I think, honestly, that deal, when that 7th pick is being announced or worked through, I think that's when the deal is going to be finalized.
I wonder if you're Green Bay, do we see the deal get done, then Green Bay try to package Jordan Love with somebody to move up to take Justin Fields?
Nah.
I wouldn't do that. That would be dumb. Honestly, that would be dumb because you already traded up to get Jordan Love. Like you basically,
they're not going to have anything left.
Yeah, you basically, you picked Jordan Love when you traded up to get him. You picked him over Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the bottom line. And I get it, you got to be professional. But you know it. You've dealt with them.
Man, yeah.
Quarterbacks are temperamental, man.
They sensitive. They sensitive.
They're tenderonis. So you have to understand that psyche is very delicate. So when you're doing something like that, you are truly picking that guy you're trading up to select over Aaron Rodgers. So they already did that. I can't see them packaging moves again to go up and get Justin Fields.
Well, it's funny you say that because Chris Floyd told me that he and Steve McNair had a great relationship for forever. But the one thing with Steve was you were not going to disrespect Steve McNair. Right. And I think, when Bud Adams kind of ordered them to lock McNair out of the facility, that was it. That they were never going to have him back. And I look right now at this situation, and Aaron was like, no, once you took him, I was going to go prove to you that I was still at the top of my game, and then I was going to make you pay for that, what you did to me last year.
But that's just the nature of the beast, though. You know what I'm saying? Listen, when you're a professional, you got two choices, to get bitter or get better. Let me tell you something. I've been in that position. They was like, well, Chris Sanders can't do this. They're going to go get Kevin Dyson, who I respect, Yancey Thigpen. They went and got all his receivers. So now I have a choice to sit there, get mad, ask them to trade me, talk about their mama, do all this stuff. But what I did is I went to work. I went to work to say, you know what? I'm going to play so well that I'm going to make you play me.
So I believe, Max, we have Roger Goodell at the podium to open up the draft.
Bernie Kosar. And Big Joe Thomas. We all agree that over the past season, one thing that we missed the most was all our fans, all of you. And we can't wait. Bernie, look. Take a bow, Bernie. And we can't wait to have all of you back in First Energy Stadium and every stadium across the league this season. So tonight, to celebrate our fans, we're going to have an NFL fan from out here that's vaccinated come up to this stage for each draft pick tonight and sit in that chair, which is a chair I did the draft from in 2020. So I'm going to let Jarvis and Bernie pick the Jaguar fan who comes up first. Guys, go for it. Go for it. All right, we got a winner. We got a winner. Hang on one second, because I'm going to ask Joe Thomas to give his little pregame speech and get you a little fired up before we start tonight. So, Big Joe.
What's up, Cleveland? How about them Brownies, huh? Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. How about this night, Cleveland? Let's get this draft started.
Okay, Cleveland, it's time to get this rolling. You ready? Okay. The 2021 NFL Draft is now officially open. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock.
So there we go. The NFL Draft is upon us. I'm going to be honest with you. Taking a look at TD's big board, which, of course, is presented by Founders Brewing, I feel pretty good about this one. Trevor Lawrence going to go number one right here to the Jacksonville Jags. But, again, the drama of the draft now. Yes, I thought the drama of the draft was going to start at 4. Like, who was going to be there? I think the drama of the draft now, you brought up 3. I keep wondering what's going on with Denver at 9 and this Aaron Rodgers story.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. That took over everything.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
It's just so funny to me that this news comes out, 2 hours before the draft.
NFL office is saying, Aaron, thanks for hijacking the draft.
Yeah,
he knew what he was doing.
Crazy. Oh, he absolutely knew what he was doing. It was very, very crafty. It was very strategic, man.
I would be really surprised, though, if they would complete a deal by tonight. But I guess we'll find out.
Here's the thing. The report came out.
I know.
But you know how things tend to work.
And Schlereth is a pretty reliable guy, so I'm not going to poo-poo what he says.
That thing could have been brewing for some time. I mean, who knows, right?
know.
Maybe because, look, you had to report yesterday that the 49ers were trying to make something happen to get Aaron Rodgers. So it was pretty clear. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that he wasn't happy. So, hey, if I'm a GM, I'm throwing stuff at the wall to see if it'll stick. And I think Denver threw something and it's sticking.
Well, and it looks like, and this is not your first rodeo, TD, so you understand. Rodgers' agent was probably shopping him around to try to see what kind of deal would be
exactly.
made.
I'll say this.
That's amazing.
I went into the draft saying, okay, let's see what the rest of the SEC or the SEC, what the rest of the AFC South does to see, who are the contenders for the Titans in the AFC. We know Buffalo, we know Kansas City, we know Baltimore, we know Pittsburgh, we know Cleveland. Let's go ahead and put Denver if this trade goes through.
Oh, absolutely.
And Aaron Rodgers because I will say this right now, just off the top of my head, it's Kansas City and Denver.
Yeah.
Right now at the top of the AFC if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Broncos.
I mean, if you look at the NFL, the teams that are very, very successful if they have good quarterback play. I mean, if you're going to be successful in this league, you got to have a quarterback that's going to make right decisions and not turn the ball. And if you look at Drew Luck just wasn't the guy. He was just a guy that can maybe complete a pass here and there, but he wasn't a guy that's going to take it to the next level. Then now you got Rodgers that's taking it to the whole different level. Now it changes the whole playing field.
Is Tom Brady, though, not the luckiest human being
gosh.
on the planet? Gorgeous wife, all those Super Bowl rings, and in 1 year he gets rid of Drew Brees. Yeah, totally. And Aaron Rodgers could be leaving the NFC.
Man, how about that?
I mean, who's left?
That's crazy, man.
I will say this. I will feel bad now if the Rodgers trade doesn't go through.
Oh, my God.
Like, I wonder, the one thing about Green Bay is they don't have an owner. Because if they had an owner, that owner might pick up the phone and call Aaron and say, hey, I'm firing the coach, I'm firing the GM, I'm getting rid of him today.
They had multiple people flying to the West Coast. Matt LaFleur did, the GM did. Multiple flew out there to try to smooth it over, but Aaron Rodgers was like, no.
Like I said, I don't know, and his beef or beefs might be real, but I know there are a lot of other quarterbacks around the NFL that are looking at him going,
oh, my God.
How could you not like where you are and your situation?
Right. Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
You know what it is, man. It's irreconcilable differences.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, man. But imagine being the Colts.
That's why I told you today. Thank God it's not going to the Colts.
Oh, my God.
Imagine, how would you feel if you were Chris Ballard? How would you feel? I'd be like, dang, man, I gave up this to get Carson Wentz. We could have got, because they're one of the few teams that got that cap to bring him in.
They could have.
Hey, look, man.
Titan fans got on me because I celebrated when the Colts traded for Carson Wentz. And Titan fans are like, hey, what if Carson Wentz goes back to 2017? I go, I am way more willing to risk that than I am that Indianapolis pulls something out of their rear end and ends up with Deshaun Watson and that's obviously before all of Deshaun's problems, but ends up with Deshaun Watson or ends up drafting the next Patrick Mahomes who we don't see coming or something like that. I'd rather, let Carson Wentz try it out. And now I'm thinking, oh, my God, thank goodness they traded for Carson Wentz.
What do you think the Rams are thinking?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. The one thing I will say, and this is why I still think Mac Jones is going at 3 to San Francisco. I think that the Shanahan coaching tree coaches, LaFleur, McVay, Shanahan's son, maybe not Arthur Smith, but the rest of those guys, I think they all think that the coach is more important than the quarterback. They think the coach is the star and the quarterback does what the coach says. And I'm just telling you, you got Aaron Rodgers, that ain't going to work. You are not going to be the star if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. You are not going to tell Aaron what to do until there's 15 seconds on the clock like they tell Jared Goff what to do.
Yeah, but why should it be like that? I mean, those two should actually work together so they can come up with a plan to be great together. It's not about, he's going to get more respect and he's not going to get more respect. I mean, it shouldn't be done in that. It's about being a professional, saying, I'm going to be coachable, and he's the coach because I respect his position. And it just – listen, it just makes me upset. The reason why it makes me upset is because you got young people that are looking at this. You got kids that are in college saying, you know what, if I don't like to be on this team, I can go somewhere else instead of being committed to the team that you're with.
And the thing is, they coexisted. Even like last year, the fact that they coexisted after that trade was really interesting to me. I thought that solidified it. Like, hey, he'll be there another 2-3 years, and then they'll figure it out. And it's just amazing to me. And I remember when LaFleur got the job, that was the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Because look, I'll say this, right? I know from dealing with Coach LaFleur every day, he's not exactly the most alpha type, the most commanding type of man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So when that deal happened, I'm like, I wonder how they're going to coexist. And there were other people wondering that, but they made it work. They were the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Sure.
So how it all just tumbled this way it's crazy. I personally, if I was a GM, I would be looking a little sideways at Coach LaFleur, like, yo, man, like, how come you couldn't make this happen? How come you couldn't fix it?
You can't blame the coach.
I blame the coach. I blame the coach.
No, how?
I think.
Go ahead.
Look, it's a marriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think both sides have to. It's equal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I want to know is who was behind the trade up to get Jordan Love, because whoever did that, that's the one who's responsible for the split.
Yeah.
That was the straw that broke Aaron Rodgers' back.
But that's the nature of the beast. I mean, they're looking for not longevity, but they're looking for the future. And I'm not saying that Love is the future. They drafted and understand you get mad, but at the end of the day, wouldn't that motivate you even more?
It
Which
did.
it did.
It did to go. What it did was it motivated Aaron to go shove it in their face, and this is Aaron shoving it in their face.
But does it make it right? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it definitely doesn't make it right. And the thing is, I get what you're saying. It's the nature of the beast. But in my opinion, when you're the number 2 seed in the conference, you don't make a trade up to get something that's clashing with the best thing on your roster.
Right.
You go get a receiver.
Right, but check this out. I led the league 2 years in yards per catch. They went and got Dyson, and then Yancey Thickman.
I get it.
So what I'm saying is I had to tell my emotions to shut up. My emotions, like, I want to be traded. I deserve better. All these things that I said as opposed to saying, man, I just got in my mindset that I'm going to play so well that you're going to have to play me.
I don't think it's right what's happening. I don't think it's right. But I can understand it. You know what I mean? I get where he's coming from. I think that's the way, and we got the pick in for the Jaguars.
Who you think it is?
I'm going to go with Bo Callahan.
The one question I have, though, is this about the Jags and their pick. And when Goodell gets to the mic, we'll have it. Mark, is there any chance that Lawrence ends up not being worth the hype in your mind, or do you think he is legitimately worth? Do you feel the same way today about Jacksonville and their future as you did about Indianapolis when they picked Andrew Luck?
No. I didn't, and I still don't know, because in college, Trevor Lawrence always had the best team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you saw when he went up against Ohio State or when he went up against Alabama, wasn't always great. So, no, and that's why everybody got all up in arms about what he said last week, that there are other things in life than football, and he's just a lot more easygoing.
Yeah.
Pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson.
Mel Kiper's first draft.
There you go. Let's take a look at what Mel Keiper Jr. has to say about Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 overall pick in the draft. The Mel Keiper player profiles are presented by Apple Collision Centers. Here's Mel Keiper on the number 1 pick of the 2021 NFL Draft.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
We look back when he stepped on that Clemson Tiger campus. He was my number 1 player overall, number 1 quarterback. He maintained that over the last 3 years. Everything you want in a franchise quarterback he has. My 4th highest rated quarterback ever behind John Elway, Andrew Luck, and Peyton Manning. If you want to nitpick, 5 of his last 6 starts, he threw an interception. Could be a less trusting of his arm at times, but he's got everything it takes to be a big-time winner in the National Football League.
There you go, Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall. TD, Mark just brought the point. Trevor Lawrence always had the best in college. He's not getting that at Jacksonville.
No, he's not. But I'm just kind of stuck at fourth best quarterback prospect ever.
Hey, you're friends with Mel. You got to take that up with him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to text him like, just what the heck are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I like the pick. I mean, the one thing I love about him is he's a tough kid. And you saw him when he went against Ohio State. He almost got his spleen taken out.
Just run right
He
here.
just ran and he comes back and make a play. But if you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've been inconsistent at the quarterback position for so long. Gardner Minshew, Glennon, and then the last great quarterback they had was Mark Brunell. When I played it, I'm almost 49. 49. So I think it's a good pick. It's good for the city. It's good for the NFL, and I think he's going to come in. May struggle a little bit, but I think he's going to be an impact player.
They're going to have to be patient.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like the receiving core they have, though. You know, they got Colin Johnson out of Texas last year. Big red zone
Chenault,
threat. There it is right there.
Colorado.
Chenault he's the real deal.
Yes.
And you can move him all over, and then DJ Shark, they'll probably end up getting another. Watch him get a tight end or somebody, you know, Pat Freiermuth or somebody like that. So they don't have all the pieces, but they have all the money, and they have all the picks.
He's got all the physical tools. But, you heard people with Zach Wilson, that angel song sang when during his workout. Yep. And I'm always leery, though, of quarterbacks that get drafted because of their workout. Because we're not talking game conditions.
Yeah. Remember Johnny Manziel's workout? They were going crazy. Oh, my God, he put the pads on and the helmet.
Yeah, well, the thing I always noticed, though, when Johnny Manziel got hit, he didn't get up all the time.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, if you're having trouble in the SEC, wait till you go to the NFL.
No doubt.
And a lot of times, we talk about the running quarterback. I'm not saying he's a running quarterback, but if he starts running in the NFL, it's going to be a short term because the physical part of the game, you want to just make sure he stays in the pocket and avoid a lot of the hits, because if you look at what he did when he was at Clemson, he ran a lot.
Yeah.
And when you run a lot, that means you're going to take some hits. So I think the Jacksonville Jaguars and Urban Meyer, the head coach, he's got to make sure that he put this kid in position to be successful.
And that's the important piece is it's okay to run the ball. It's okay, but you have to be able to avoid the hits. When the last time you saw Lamar Jackson get rocked?
Not that much.
When's the last time you saw Russell Wilson get rocked?
Not that much.
And these guys are running all the time. Now, Josh Allen, hey, he's a crash test dummy of a quarterback. But that dude is a good crash test dummy of a quarterback. So it is important, and that's one thing with Carson Wentz. I remember the Eagles, they always would tell him, like, hey, listen, live to see another down. We love your aggressiveness. We love you wanting to go all out and do something for the team. But we need you on second and third down, too, in the next series. We can't have you doing these things getting hurt.
Teron, you talk to 1,000,001 scouts and evaluators, and what do they always say about quarterbacks? If he's not accurate in college, he's not going to be that much more accurate in the pros. And Josh Allen turned that theory on its ear.
Unbelievable.
And do you think that they're thinking about this differently, or do you think that Allen is just an outlier?
I think he's an outlier, and along with the accuracy is arm strength. And that takes us back to Aaron Rodgers, because somehow, I don't know what the heck he was doing when he was backing up Favre, but Phil Simms has said it. He went up there to Green Bay, and he was watching, one of their practices or whatever, and he was like, yo, what happened to him? Because his arm was so much better. So that's another one. I think both of those guys are anomalies because, to your point, you don't just become a more accurate quarterback. Now, there are things that require you to be more precise with the football. You're not going to throw into those wide open windows all the time. That's true, but still, accuracy is actually going to show. I don't know what Josh Allen did either.
So I think we can all say that the Jags are better than the Texans right now because the Texans are a total mess, especially given the Deshaun situation. How much more competitive is Jacksonville right now than they have been with the Titans in the past, putting Trevor Lawrence at quarterback over Gardner Minshew or Glennon or Foles or whomever the quarterbacks have been as of late?
I mean, that's just one player. I mean, they still got a whole bunch of holes they need to be filled. They need some D-line guys. In my opinion, they need an explosive wide receiver. That's just my opinion. So even though they got Trevor Lawrence, who brings athleticism and great leadership skills, that can only go so far. You still got to put pieces around him to succeed. And I think the most important thing is how the coaches use him. I mean, it's going to be very, very important. If you start putting him in positions and he start taking hits and, he's not reading defenses, you're putting that kid in a position to fail. So I think if the coaches can make sure, I'm not saying, spoon feed him, just make sure that they're putting him in position to be successful.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you mentioned it being just one player. You're right. They need D tackles.
They need everything.
They need D tackles. They need safety help. They need to do that. And Trevor Lawrence could come in and put 30 points up per game, but if they're giving up 31, guess what? They're losing. So I think they are more competitive. Just on paper, face the facts, Trevor Lawrence is better than Gardner Minshew,
Sure.
right? But at the same time, it's going to take a bit for that all to come together. And I just want to see, because this is the kicker for me. Urban Meyer is not a loser by trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence he's never lost a regular season game in high school or college. How are these guys who are used to winning all the time, how are they going to handle that? And I think that's the big thing. And we know Urban Meyer has the health stuff. So
here we go.
How's that going to roll?
Roger Goodell at the podium.
In the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback, BYU.
Todd McShay.
There you go. Right there, Zach Wilson goes 2 overall. TD on your big board presented by Founders Brewing. You have Zach Wilson as the 10th best player in this draft. You have him as the 3rd best quarterback. Your thoughts on the Jets? They trade Sam Darnold. They get Zach Wilson. How much better or worse are the Jets today?
Well, let me start with this. It's not a swing and a miss because it was common knowledge that he was going to go second, but that doesn't make him better than Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. But I think the Jets. Here's the thing that I'm curious about. When did they make this pivot away from Sam Darnold? Because Corey Davis, when he spoke, he said that he signed with the Jets with the understanding that Sam Darnold was going to be the guy. So I don't know, man. I don't know that they got better, to be honest with you, because I go back to that Coastal Carolina game, and I get it. It was on, short preparation. They didn't have, they had to travel across the country and all that good stuff. But, I mean, if you can't lead a team of better players over Coastal Carolina, how the heck are you going to lead the Jets against the Buffalo Bills?
True.
You know what I'm saying? Against a much improved Miami Dolphins team. So I don't think they got better, no.
I just think when you look at Sam Darnold, it's not that he couldn't make the plays. It's not that he wasn't a good quarterback. I just think he made bad decisions.
Yes,
when you make bad decisions in the quarterback and you're throwing interceptions and you're not leading your team, and then on top of that, you're consistently hurt, you have to go out and find somebody. I'm not saying Zach Wilson is the guy. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. But the one thing I love about him is he brings a little energy and he brings a little swag to the game. And I'm not comparing to him when I say this name. He's got a tad bit of Johnny Manziel in him, and he's a better Johnny Manziel. I'm not saying he is Johnny Manziel. More control. But he brings some energy to a dying New York Jets team.
I could reason with that.
Mark Howard?
I think the other reason, too, is new regime, new quarterback.
Yep.
And that's why, because how can you blame Darnold for 80% of what happened to them last year?
And isn't Ryan Tannehill the perfect sign of it? Maybe it's Adam Gase, not the quarterback. Maybe Adam Gase might be the problem.
It's me, not you. Yeah,
maybe Darnold. See, this is where I would have differed. I would have either traded that pick out, or I would have sat back and taken Chase or Pitts, probably Chase, and rolled with Darnold, because if I'm the new coach and I'm Joe Douglas, the GM, and we lose with Sam Darnold, then next year I go get a quarterback and we can blame Sam Darnold for this year. Mm-hmm. That's how I would have done it.
Well, I think there's a good chance Carolina drafts a quarterback tonight.
Oh, yes.
And then and poor Sam is just sitting there understanding how Josh Rosen felt.
Okay, San Francisco on the clock, 5 minutes to get the card in. Mark Howard, are you taking the cheese? Is it Mac Jones, or do you think Trey Lance here, as we've been hearing kind of new conflicting rumors and reports?
I'm going to say it's going to be Mac. I'd never go for the last second rumors. Watch, I'm going to fall for the pump fake.
That's a vet move right there. That's definitely a vet move. I don't for the life of me understand why you trade up to get a guy who, in my opinion, his ceiling is a healthy version of what you already got. Mm-hmm. I just don't get it.
Well, a lot of people feel like he's Steve Walsh. If you want to go back, to the '90s, who was a great quarterback in Miami, had an unbelievable supporting cast, but then when he got to the NFL, in the words of Hall of Fame coach Boots Donnelly, couldn't play dead in a Western.
Hey, I know y'all gonna not kill me when I say this. I know you're gonna give me side-eyed. I know everybody's thinking it's gonna be Mac Jones. Don't be surprised if they go and get Kyle Pitts with George Kittle. And the reason why I say that, look at the offense they have. They have Deebo
Let me
Samuel.
just state for the record, I will be surprised.
Don't be surprised now. I mean, because I think Kyle Pitts is that kind of player. And then I know everybody's getting on Garoppolo and talking about his inconsistencies and being hurt and all that stuff. But if you have a healthy guy like that with Garoppolo, and then you got Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, I hope I said the name right, then you just had an explosive offense and who you're going to cover. So, I know everybody's saying that they're going to get a quarterback, but don't be surprised if they not jump up, but go ahead and get Kyle Pitts.
You know my problem with Garoppolo?
What's that?
If you get Pitts and you want to, go with that offense, you better get protect that interior.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Because Garoppolo is a scary quarterback.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys. If he just sees a flash of the opposing colors jersey, he's flinching. I don't like that, man. I don't like you can't be scary as a quarterback and play for me. And I think that's the problem.
I just think that San Francisco, I think this is Shanahan wanting to be the star. The coaches that I'm telling you, TD, I think some of these coaches think that they can be the star and they can just tell the quarterback what to do. And that's why they want to get Mac Jones.
But if that was the case, stay put and get him. I mean, you're moving up to a top 5 pick in the NFL draft is a star. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You're a star. You better be a star.
Sure, and Andy Reid, when he made that move, when Andy gambled on Mahomes, which, let's be real, that was a gamble at the time. Obviously, it looks like a great gamble, but it was a gamble. Andy, I think he's got less control now than he had then. Because Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill and those guys, they just do their thing. They're out there playing ball. And I don't think the Shanahan coaches, I don't think they can do that.
I get that. And, one thing to get back to Garoppolo, man, imagine Emmanuel Sanders running the post route. He was open.
Yeah, I know.
You can't miss that
He's
throw.
Super Bowl MVP if he hits that throw.
You can't miss that throw.
All right, the pick is in. What do we think? Mark says Mac Jones, TD.
Mac Jones.
Chris?
I'm going with Kyle Pitts.
I think it's Mac Jones. They are clapping in the San Francisco draft room. We are just anticipating. Nobody says Trey Lance.
Ooh.
I would take Trey. Let me be real with you. I would take Justin Fields. But you're asking what I think the pick is going to be. Yo, Justin Fields to the man. Look,
all that's left. The pick is in. All that's left is Roger Goodell to announce the pick. And I just 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. That's where I'm sitting right now. 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. There's a
49ers
question.
Is that a trade the 49ers made with the Dolphins, or is that an old?
That was the trade to move up. Yeah.
All right.
But so this is originally the Houston Texans pick that was Laramie Tunsil. That is now worth 3 first-round picks and Mac Jones. I mean, we don't even know if Tua is a starting quarterback in the NFL. Are not for sure that Tua is going to make it. And Tua was playing well over this guy. Not to knock Mac, because I like Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones' agent did a fantastic job. But here you go.
With the 3rd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State.
Todd McShay's first draft analysis.
Trey Lance needs some development. There's no question about it. He has 17 starts at the FCS level, but he has so many gifts physically. He's built like a tight end. He's strong, he's competitive, he's tough. You talk to anyone inside the program, and they just love the way he comes to work every single day. Plus, he has a big-time arm to throw down the field. What he has to work on is his footwork in order to be more consistent with his accuracy. But other than that, he has everything that you look for in a starting quarterback in the NFL. I just hope he gets 1 year to sit and to learn before he becomes an NFL starter.
There you go. That breakdown presented by Apple Collision Centers. Who wants to go first on this one? The first curveball of the night at 7:42 p.m.
They said, to Mark's point, as they got further, there was a point where Mac Jones was the guy for them. That was their pick. But as they got further along in the process, and this is one of the things I love about these guys being able to go and see them, because there's just something different when you could go and feel and see the guy in person. And that's what happened. It shifted from Jones to Lance. Now, Trey Lance, in my opinion, that's Donovan McNabb. He reminds me of McNabb so much. And I like North Dakota quarterbacks, right? Looking at, Carson Wentz, he was another guy that when it's time to go to the line of scrimmage, you're making the calls. You're checking the coverages. You're changing the protection. You're doing all that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people say North Dakota State, small school guy. Well, you know what?
Football player.
North Dakota State is breeding a quarterback better than Cal. You know what I'm saying? And Cal's a Power 5 school. I think this is a good pick.
I think it is too. I mean, look at his frame. He's 6'4", 224. But here's the thing that I love. How many interceptions did he throw last year?
Zero.
So when you have a quarterback that's throwing 0 interceptions, that means he's making great decisions. And I agree with you, TD. We get so caught up in the big school, the big name, and I don't think it's fair. This guy's a football player.
Yep.
That's what you want. You want football players. And when you have a guy like this with his big frame, he's got a little nastiness to him, and he's got a little swag to him, but also he's going to make great decisions. And I think that's what makes this kid special. Great pick by the San Francisco 49ers.
And this is Kyle Shanahan flexing his coaching muscles, sort of saying that, we have a good quarterback, but now we're going to draft a better one. And he's going to stake his job status on Trey Lance. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Garoppolo. Do they play Lance behind him for a year?
I would.
And then trade Garoppolo?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would do.
The only thing I hate about that is this guy, if it goes that way, he will play one game in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, look, the 49ers are going to get up on some teams when they're up, or even I would do similar to what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. And I would have like some type of package. I would have him just getting into the game. He needs to get back into that flow of being in the game because he's going to be away from it for a while. But then on top of that, you're adjusting to that different level of speed.
Here's the question now. Atlanta's on the clock. We've been told that Mac Jones reminds a lot of people of Matt Ryan. Do you think about it if you're Arthur, or do you stay the course and go with Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase?
I'm about to text Coach Art and be like, don't do it.
Throw in the towel, Rock.
Throw the damn towel.
I take Kyle Pitts.
I'll take Kyle Pitts, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So nobody's taking the cheese on Mac Jones?
No, sir.
Matt Ryan,
no, sir.
Matt Ryan is still
in
his prime. He had a couple of bad years, but I think Arthur Smith can put that back together. I don't know if they're going to trade Julio Jones or not.
That's going to be interesting.
But
they got to clear up space to be able to sign these rookies.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But I think eventually that'll be fine. And I would say getting Matt Ryan a target like Pitts is first priority.
And Matt Ryan, when he won the MVP, he had Shanahan as his OC. Yeah. What did they do a lot of? Booting and moving the pocket and those type of things. What does Arthur Smith specialize? We saw what he did with Tannehill, so I think they can make that work for another year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. When you add Pitts to this explosive offense, I don't know what they're going to do with Julio Jones, but you got Calvin Ridley. We can't forget about that cat. So you add Kyle Pitts to that kind of explosive offense, and then on the flip side of that, you have Matt Ryan that feels like he has to prove himself. So you don't think he's going to come in here with an attitude, just like what Arthur Smith did with Tannehill.
Yeah.
Because Tannehill had to come and prove himself all over again. So now Arthur Smith is in the exact same situation to where he can develop a quarterback and help him, put him in position to succeed. Great.
And remember, this receiver class is deep.
Deep.
But you know what though? With that personnel, 12. We going 2 tight end.
Yes.
Tiger. That's what I'm calling Tiger all the time. We go 2 tight ends, and we're just gonna do what we want to do because you could take Kyle Pitts and put him on the outside like a receiver and have Plaxico Burress playing for you. You know, that way. But then you also look, this class is deep. You could get receivers later. And there's a guy on this roster. I don't know if you watched him, Chris, but his name is Olamide Zaccheaus.
Yeah.
That boy, nice.
Oh,
He's a deep threat, man. He runs the corners, the posts, all that stuff, man. He's a nice receiver.
I think
Falcons pick is in. We wonder who that will be, but first we take a little trip to the locker room with Chris Sanders, presented by Freedom Tire Guys. Chris, put yourself in the San Francisco locker room right now. Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback. Trey Lance, 3rd overall.
I'm kind of excited because if I'm a guy and I'm watching, if I'm about to be his player, I'm being excited because this guy's going to bring a different element to it. He's 6'4", just like we talked about 224, and he's going to make some plays. And I agree with TD. You know, you got Garoppolo that sometimes he plays inconsistent and he plays scared. And when you have a quarterback that kind of plays scared, you're not going to feel confidence in the scheme and in your player. So now you got a guy that's coming in, Trey Lance, that has that swag, that has that attitude, that has that want to go and make plays. I'm excited about being in the locker room with him.
Do you buy the Steve McNair comparisons?
Negatory.
No.
He's a different breed, man.
I said my comparison. That's Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
No, Steve McNair was a totally different guy. I mean, you would have to cut off his leg for him not to play. I don't know the makeup of Trey Lance, but I know that Steve McNair, boy,
In the 2021 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Kyle Pitts, tight end, Florida.
Todd McShay's first draft analysis.
Kyle Pitts has the highest tight end grade that I've given in 20 years of doing this. He's 6'5.5", 245 pounds. He ran a 4.4 flat in his 40-yard dash at the pro day, and he has an 83 3/8 inch wingspan. And you just watch the tape, his ability to get off of the press, his ability to separate with his quickness, and then his ability to run after the catch. This cat is special. He's a mismatch waiting to happen.
There you go. That was Todd McShay. Again, those player profiles presented by Apple Collision Centers. Mark Howard, your thoughts on Arthur Smith. Didn't take him long, by the way. Arthur Smith putting the card in for Kyle Pitts.
Well, he's got a player that some regard is maybe the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
You heard a lot of analysts say Kyle Pitts is most likely to end up in Canton.
Easy.
And not as a presenter. I know, but the hyperbole goes off the charts this time of year. But there is, he's as much of a sure thing, I believe, in this draft as anybody.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. A little nugget, too. You'll probably appreciate this. He went to the same high school as Eddie George, Abington. They spent some time there. He went to Archbishop Wood, too. I'm a Philly dude, so, I'm going to make those references, man. But, I like the pick. And you're right, Mark. He is the closest thing to a sure thing. And, the last tight end to be drafted this high was, Vernon Davis, I think it was?
Yeah.
The 6th overall pick. And he'll have that same type of input, man. This dude's a player.
If you look at the Atlanta Falcons, when they had that great tight end, Tony Gonzalez, what made Tony Gonzalez so special? The way he ran routes, the way he used his eyes, and the way he separated from a linebacker or a safety. Just quadruple that with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a route runner. This guy is not – I know we use tight end as a loose term. Yes, he's a tight end. But he's basically a wide receiver because he understands how to set guys up. He understands how to run routes, and he understands how to use his eyes. And as a wide receiver or a tight end, you use your eyes and you run routes, I'm telling you, man, you can be something special. And that's exactly what Kyle Pitts is.
Time now to take a look at the two-tone blue update presented by MTGRT.com. We take a look at TD's top 5 Titan targets. We're not going to have some movement on the top 5 Titan targets for a while. So one thing I've noticed about draft shows is that when the team that you cover is not terrible, the draft shows, it takes a little while to get going. And then it may never actually come to a head either. Like, because you may trade out.
Yeah.
And then the next day it's like, what do we think about trading out? All right, let's take your calls. So far, Greg Newsome, Azeez Ojulari, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, and Tevin Jenkins are still available. Again, the two-tone blue update presented by MTGRT.com. Cincinnati on the clock. Chase or Sewell, Mark Howard, which direction would you go here?
I think they're going to go Jamar Chase. I think they feel like in this NFL, this is a guy that they feel like stands alone, Jamar Chase. And I think they feel like, again, that they can pick up a good tackle in the second round. I don't know if they can pick up as good a wide receiver in the second round. So I think they feel like Jamar Chase is special.
Chris, am I crazy for saying that I believe Jamar Chase, and I love Kyle Pitts and Trevor Lawrence, that the 2019 Jamar Chase had might be, if that was his 2020, we may be talking about the best player in the draft?
Jamar Chase?
Yes.
I mean, Jamar Chase, he's a special kid. But there's still some things that he needs to work on. I mean, he still needs to work on his route running. I mean, I understand that he made some big plays at LSU, but there's still some things that he still needs to work on. So, I know everybody's high on Jamar Chase, and I don't know if you agree on me that he still needs some work, but I think he does. And I just don't think you need to put him in the echelon just yet.
Yeah, he's not as much of a route runner as he is a guy who uses his physicality to get separation.
Right.
But I think Joe Burrow reuniting with Jamar Chase, that's good things for your franchise. And then knowing that you could get a tackle later, because they definitely, look, they need a tackle.
Bad.
So you got to protect your investments. You can't have a repeat of what happened last year. So I could see Sewell being the pick. But I just think Joe Burrow is like, hey, man, I need the homie. I need my man Chase in the building, so make it happen.
But you know what? I like Sewell too, and the reason why I like him is he has those wow blocks. And we talk about finishing, when you have an offensive tackle and you finish, you be like, wow.
Yeah.
And when you have a guy like that to protect Burrow, it just made your whole, not just offensive line better, it made your whole offense better. Because you have a guy that's going to dominate and he's going to make sure that Burrows are protected. Because if you look at last year with the Cincinnati Bengals, they were switching offensive line guys the whole season. So you bring this guy to be a pillar of your offensive line, it just made your whole offense better.
And then they have a nice group, right? Chase will settle in. You have Tyler Boyd working the slot, T. Boyd on the, T. Higgins on the outside, and Chase will settle in probably as the Z receiver. So you're pretty good there. I like the package, right? And Drew Sample is a pretty solid tight end. He's a guy that, out of Washington that the Titans had some interest in when he was coming out. So it's a good mix there. I think they could do some things.
I would go Penei Sewell here.
Yeah, me too.
Because if Joe Burrow gets another injury, then he becomes injury prone.
But here's the thing.
And I don't want to do that to him.
Where did Burrow's injury happen?
He was outside the pocket.
Oh, no, he was running.
He was running.
And you go back. Actually, you remember the Titans game.
Oh,
it was all about getting the ball out the hands quickly. I need to check the stats. I don't know how much Joe Burrows was sacked. I get you need to protect the investment, but I think you could also help the offensive line by going to that quick passing game.
I do think I remember, Mark Howard, if I'm not mistaken, the Joe Burrow game was the Jonathan Joseph special for the Titans. And I go back, I think that was the moment where we knew, like, hey, the Titans defense, this isn't like, give it a little bit of time, they'll get it together. That was when we knew, this defense sucks. Like, that was the moment. I just am always skeptical of Cincinnati. I feel like, they never build the infrastructure of their football team, and that's how I feel about this pick right here. Though I do love Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Well, you act like this is their only draft pick. You're the kid.
That's true.
You're the kid who saved his money when he was 11 or 12, and I was the one who went out there and bought all the candy. So Jamar Chase is definitely the candy.
I just like that kid from Oregon. I just watched a little bit of his film, and he has really quick feet. You don't see too many offensive linemen that have really quick feet like he does, and just like what I talked about earlier, he has those wild blocks, and when you have those wild blocks, man, and you see him finish guys, man, I'm telling you, it sparks a light on your offense.
Let me ask you a question. Jamar Chase and Alex Leatherwood, or Penny Sewell and, just to pick a guy, Nico Collins. That's essentially what you're doing.
I know, you're right.
Yeah, well.
I take the Jamar Chase pairing.
Yeah, I mean, I like the and you could go
Leatherwood's going to be solid.
Spencer Brown.
Yep.
You know, no one's talking about him. I had him in my article yesterday. You know, this is a 6'8" kid.
Dang.
That played baseball, football, and basketball, and he's a very good tackle option. You know, so there are guys. Walker Little out of Stanford. Dylan Raduns out of North Dakota State.
Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, Slater, I don't think you're going to have a shot at him. But I think like Jalen Mayfield, Samuel Cosby has some good tape out there too. So,
but also, I mean, look at the catch from the guy from Notre Dame.
NFL
Here we go.
draft.
Oh, here we go.
The Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase, wide receiver, LSU.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
6'5", 200 pounds with 4.38 speed and a 41 vertical, and incredible production in 2019. Those 84 catches, 21-yard average per catch, and 20 touchdowns. That was with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Opted out this year. Didn't affect where he went. He still maintained that high grade because he's so physically gifted, and he had that incredible one great season at LSU in 2019.
That's what scares me. One great season.
There you go. One great season, though. But, hey, it was a great season for Jamar Chase. The Mel Kiper player profile presented by Apple Collision Center. Save your takes on this one. We will take a quick timeout. We will be right back. Reset the board for the Titans. It's the Draft Show live from Third and Home. Mark Howard, TD, Chris Sanders, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Third and home in Germantown. You're listening to Draft Night in Nashville on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Here we go. The Dolphins are on the clock. The pick is in. First, though, let's take a look at who's up as Roger Goodell gets set to take the podium. We take a look at the big board presented by Founders Brewing on TD's big board. Number 2 player, Justin Fields. Still available, Penei Sewell, Devonta Smith, Rashawn Slater, and Jalen Waddle. The top 5 available is Roger Goodell. Quickly, TD, who do we think goes here at 6?
I'm going Devonta Smith. I think Smith.
In the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, Alabama.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
Fractured ankle October 24th on that opening kickoff return against Tennessee. Up until that point, he was a coast-to-coast touchdown maker. Think about his ability as a punt returner during his career. Phenomenal in that area. Drawing comparisons to Tyreek Hill for obvious reasons. Explosive, a game changer, a touchdown maker who, as I said, do not underestimate what he will do on special teams as an elite punt returner.
Mel Kiper's player profile presented by Apple Collision Centers. Mark Howard, your thought, Waddle over Devonta Smith?
I don't think you could lose either way. Jalen Waddle, you can move all over the field. You see what Andy Reid did with Tyreek Hill, and I think the Dolphins are going to do a lot of that. It's to their advantage. You know, he's a perpetual mismatch. Who's ever on him, and just has ridiculous speed, you know, great returner, just somebody that even guys like us would pay money to watch. He's one of those players. Devonta Smith, I got a special place in my heart for him because I felt like he really worked for it. You know, he willingly, sort of played supporting actor, to Waddle and the rest of the receivers for a while. Waddle gets hurt. He steps up as leading man and is unbelievable. The only question about Waddle is he totally recovered from his injury last year?
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I have so much respect for this guy because, he got hurt earlier in the season, and then he came back and played in the national championship game because he wants to play football. And the one thing you love about this kid is, I'm not saying he reminds me of A.J. Brown, but they have some similarities, is the run after the catch. When you have a receiver that can catch the slants, that can catch the hits and make something out of nothing, and make those explosive plays, I think it's a great pick by the Miami Dolphins.
And Chris,
yes.
The other thing that stood out to me, he played the national championship game at less than 100%.
And he was still
flying. There are a lot
flying.
of guys, 99% of the other, and it doesn't speak ill of them, but he really wanted to be on the field with his guys, and that means something to me.
I mean, it does. Because he didn't have to play. He didn't have to play, but he went out there. Now, as your receiver, you need to have a will. That's your ankle.
Yeah,
you can't cut if you have a bad ankle. But he put the team in front of himself and said, you know what, I'm going to help my team win a national championship.
And forget 100%. That dude was less than 60%, and he was out there. And that's why I said it in the opening. He showed me that he's a dog. Now, I tell you a funny story. I remember a couple years ago talking to Rashaan Evans in the locker room, and I said, hey, man, Jalen Waddle's the best receiver out of all of them. And this was when Judy was there and Ruggs. So I get the pick. I'm just confused because they have Will Fuller.
Yeah.
So I'm confused by that.
But he's suspended for the first 4 games.
He
right?
is suspended for the 4 games. Was that I think that was a 1-year deal.
1 year,
too,
yeah,
so
1 year deal, yeah.
I just like the way Devonta Smith runs the routes and gets open immediately. And that's one of the things with Tua. He needs that separation. He needs that space because he has so much hesitance where you got to tell him, like, yo, throw the darn football. And there are times when he doesn't. And that's where I think Smith is so much better for this team.
Seems indigenous to Hawaiian quarterbacks, a reluctance to throw the football.
I just think the reason why Miami Dolphins stayed away from Smith, everybody was talking about the whole season, is his weight. You're 6 feet, but you're 160.
Especially playing in that weather.
Exactly. And then you're going to take the punishment of being playing in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying that he can't do it, but you're like 160 pounds, and you're going to take that pounding. So I just think that's why they went with Waddle as opposed of going with Smith.
We still got treated to a rare feat, right? You had a quarterback and receiver be the first one to be selected in the top 10 in back-to-back years. Well, it just happened again with the Dolphins, so that was pretty cool. That's still, a little nugget. Try to drop the tidbits.
Detroit on the board now. Where do you go quarterback even with Jared Goff? Do you go Devonta Smith to give Jared Goff something? What do you do here, Detroit at 7?
Very intriguing.
Ooh,
I would draft Penei Sewell.
That's where I was going to go. Where I was going.
Guys, Jared Goff was left in Detroit like a stolen car on blocks in somebody's front yard. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
The poor guy. I mean, he was run out of Los Angeles, and maybe found safe haven for a year or two in Detroit. But the thing about Penei Sewell, it's like buying a blue chip stock. I mean, regardless of who's playing quarterback, he's going to be a guy who has a chance to have a great career.
I'm going with just – okay, you go.
And just to go back to what I was saying about Garoppolo, Jared Goff has that same sickness. That scary sickness.
Oh, yeah.
So what better way to help this out than offensive lineman?
I'm going with Justin Fields. And the reason why I'm going with Justin Fields is because if you look at Jared Goff, he plays inconsistent. I mean, he plays inconsistent, but also he plays scary, and he's throwing picks at the wrong time. I mean, because if you look at when he was with the Rams last year, I mean, the defense kept him in the game, but all of a sudden he throws picks, and you can't do that as a quarterback. So if I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm going with Justin Fields from the Ohio State University.
You biased.
Look at that draft room in Detroit, man. They are.
Holy cow.
Justin Fields, because they got an Ohio State player. Wouldn't you get excited?
I mean, I don't know.
Coming to Michigan.
But they do want everybody to know that the Detroit Lions draft room is fully vaccinated. Because it said there on NFL Network, it showed them hugging with no masks on, and it said fully vaccinated draft room, which is good. I'm pro that. I think I'm with Chris. I think I go Justin Fields. Here's the one thing that I would say, though, is if you're Detroit. Oh, here we go.
The third pick in a row.
You're right. With the 7th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Penei Sewell.
There it is.
Tackle, Oregon.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
An opt-out who maintained a high grade despite not playing this year. Had he played, maybe we wouldn't have been talking about him in those glowing terms like an Orlando Pace, a Tony Baselli, a Jonathan Ogden. I still think he can be that good a left tackle. Didn't allow a sack in 2019. Only 2 hits allowed on the quarterback in 926 snaps. 2018 as a true freshman. Didn't have a penalty. Only 1 sack allowed in 450 snaps. Now, he did miss 6 games with a high ankle sprain, but a smart football player, fundamentally sound. As I say, mistake-free basically in his year and a half as a starter at left tackle at Oregon.
Mark Howard, you were first one on it saying, hey, Penei Sewell, they make the pick right here. And I'm with you. It's like buying Walmart stock. It's not going down.
It's like buying Apple.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, you need a guy like that. It doesn't always get the fan base excited. It's not sexy, but it's something you need. And the Lions, hopefully for them, can pick the playmakers after this.
I like the pick, and I think it goes back to what we said. You got to look at what you have, and that's what the good personnel people do. That's what the good franchises do. They look at what they have, and they say, okay, how can we accent this? How can we help this out? You need to protect Jared Goff. You absolutely have to do it. So I think that's a smart move. And then also looking at boards horizontally, right? Are you going to go with the number 1 offensive lineman or the number 4 receiver? Or are you going to go – you need all of that. But, I mean, you look at their roster, Terrell Crosby, solid player. Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow is great. Logan Stemper, there's nothing on there to say, hey, man, I trust you to protect my investment. So I think that's where it comes into play.
Let's go inside the locker room with Chris Sanders,
yes, sir.
Presented by Freedom Tire Guys. And you are on the Detroit Lions. You trade for Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of felt like the Rams dumped Jared Goff on you, but Jared Goff is a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
You draft Penei Sewell to be the franchise left tackle. How would you feel as a player on that team?
I mean, I would feel pretty good because they picked him that high because he's going to come in here and solidify that offensive line. I mean, I agree with TD. The guys that he named they're not going to help you to protect Jared Goff. And I think this is a fresh start for Jared Goff. And I understand that, maybe some guys in the locker room maybe would try to get another quarterback. But when you get a guy that's solidifying the offense, I think you're going to be excited because that'll make Jared Goff flourish in this offense.
Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers are on the clock. They've got about a minute left to make their pick. Justin Fields, anybody?
Yes.
I know they just traded for Sam Darnold, and I think Darnold deserves a second chance. But Justin Fields is still on the board. And are we starting to enter the territory where the New England Patriots, because it looks like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starting quarterback for San Francisco. Trey Lance sits on the bench. So now the Patriots are running out of options. Are we getting to the point to where the Patriots could be aggressive at 15 to try to make the move down and get the quarterback?
Patriots are going to mess around and take Mac Jones.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mac Jones is he's a match for them. They're going to take him. Watch.
Well, and the other thing too is, maybe the Patriots feel like they have little inside intel because Saban and Belichick are tight. But in this particular case, I'm a big Matt Rule guy. I mean, I thought he was a phenomenal college coach at Temple, and then he goes to Baylor and turns that program around. And he goes to the NFL. How stupid are the Jets that Rule doesn't take the job because the GM wants to hire the coaching staff?
Man,
I mean, what a dummy. I mean, that again sets the franchise. That's why the Jets are the Jets.
Yeah.
Where Carolina, you look at what they're doing, and I think they got something special going. But still, the strategy at quarterback, I don't think they imagined that they might be in position, to get Justin Fields.
I mean, I think it'll be a great pick with Justin Fields. I mean, if you look at the Carolina Panthers, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was okay, and he did some good things, but you bring a guy in here that can lead your team and can make some plays and extend some plays. I think it's a very, very good fit for the Carolina Panthers.
I wonder, too, going back to the Mac Jones thing, and you guys bring up a good point about New England and Mac Jones. If you're the Patriots, do you not pick up the phone? If they draft Justin Fields here, do you not pick up the phone and offer a second next year and something else to get Sam Darnold to be your quarterback?
Yeah. It just depends on who they want, and of course Carolina can make them think that they're going to take who the Patriots want.
If it's not Fields, who is it, TD? Carolina at 8.
I'm working through it, and I want to say DB. I want to say Patrick Surtain, I think, is going to be the pick, but I mean, there's a lot of ways.
What about
they could go Slater too, a tackle. They need some help on the offensive line.
What about a receiver?
They're solid, man. DJ Moore is nice. DJ Philly guy.
But he's a speed guy.
And Robbie Anderson, well, he does it all, man.
Yeah.
Your speed guy is Robbie Anderson out of Temple.
I just feel like Carolina, man, this is a good chance to trade down if you want to give Darnold a real chance. Now, they're not going to trade down because the pick's in.
Right.
But this would be a good chance to trade down.
If you're Darnold watching this going, what did I do to deserve this?
I mean, the Jets draft a quarterback. They've already gotten rid of me.
God.
Now Carolina's drafting a quarterback. They're going to get rid of me.
Yeah.
They're going to trade me to the Patriots. They're going to take Justin Fields. They're going to trade me to the Patriots for a second and a fourth next year. And then New England is going to draft Mac Jones and turn around, and all of a sudden I'm going to be back. I'm going to be the quarterback at Vanderbilt. That's going to be the only place he can go play. Roger Goodell is headed to the podium. Carolina on the clock on TD's. Here you go.
The Carolina Panthers select J.C. Horn.
Wow.
Defensive back, South Carolina.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
It's under former NFL wide receiver Joe Horn. You know his history. You know how he became this kind of player. Press coverage, in-your-face guy, aggressive football player, 23 pass breakups. You think about a guy who really, in man-to-man coverage, will eliminate that top receiver. He did it in college. He did it against highly competitive competition, great players in the SEC. That's why some have argued, and I think it's correct to say, he was the best all-around cornerback in this draft.
Well, I'll tell you what. Going back to this past season, you watch South Carolina, which was a train wreck early on. They fired Muschamp, but he stood out. Being Joe Horn's kid doesn't hurt either, but still, this kid is just, he's almost like a mirror image of his father. His father had been a defensive player in the NFL. I mean, he's physical, he's mentally tough. I just love the way he plays.
I figured they were going to go corner. I like the pick. I mean, we've talked about it. He's my top corner, and it's a good pick. And I look at, you take him, you got Dante Jackson in the mix. Rashawn Melvin is a solid corner also. You got some depth there, but I just love the competitiveness that you're getting now, because Dante Jackson, that little dude is a dog. And now you got this guy, man, I would really like going against them if I was a receiver, because it's like, yo, I got to bring it all the time, and that's how it's going to be.
And it's so funny. We was on the air the other day, and you said this. You want a corner on your team that you want to fight in practice every day. And this is the kind of guy that you have. I mean, he's one of those guys. I'm not saying he's a Jalen Ramsey, but he's one of those guys that get under your skin. And when you have that guy in practice, and the guy that did that to me was Chris Dishman. Chris Dishman would,
I thought you were going to say Perry Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. I almost. Me and him got, I still want to fight him.
The only football player ever made Chris Sanders curse.
By the way, while we're on the topic, we got to do the two-tone blue update once every hour. Yeah. I'm going to take it now. The two-tone blue update presented by MTGRT. Chris Sanders mock draft J.C. Horn to the Titans at 22. I think that's the first player.
You just going to call me out like that.
I am. I love you. But Jim Wyatt at TennesseeTitans.com had 80 different mock drafts, and I believe this is the first player off the board mocked to the Titans by anyone on Jim Wyatt's thing. Chris Sanders and J.C. Horn.
Jay.
One can hope.
I know. Hey. Why are you going to call me out like that? I don't even know what to say, man. You're going to call me out.
PD, that's getting him back for the John Candy comparison.
That was a record set.
Wow. I know I talk a lot, but you just stumped me, man.
That's cold, man.
Now, 4 minutes to go. Denver on the clock here. Are we on the Aaron watch?
Oh, my gosh. This is crazy.
I don't know what to make of this.
Because correct me if I'm wrong. I guess it doesn't matter until you sign the contract, but we don't see trades in the NFL like we do the NBA. The NBA, it's like the Utah Jazz take Teron Davenport, but he's really going to go to the Oklahoma City Thunder in a three-way deal with the Nets, and here comes TD out in a Utah hat, and you're not going to play for him. They don't do that in the NFL.
Why you have to send me to two cities like that, though, man?
You wouldn't like to play for the Nets?
Oh, you haven't ended up in Brooklyn?
No, you're going through Brooklyn in order to get to Oklahoma City.
What are you talking about, man? You got Oklahoma City.
That's how the NBA works.
You're right, though. Remember, let's get off basketball. Go ahead,
Well,
Mark.
I was going to say, we had Aaron Rodgers, pretty much, buying 3 cases of Coors.
That's what I said. Are we on the Aaron watch?
Well, we're not, according to Pro Football Talk. They said currently the Packers are not negotiating a trade for him. I think they will exhaust every contingency before you let a guy like that walk, because that is a move that could come back to haunt you for generations.
Yeah.
But if you're Denver, don't you need to know that today? Because I'm picking Justin Fields right now if I'm the Denver Broncos, and I don't have Aaron Rodgers coming down the pipe.
I think they feel like it's a lot easier to make a deal after this draft when you're not under the gun. Yeah. I don't think the Packers care one bit about how the Broncos are feeling, because they didn't initiate this thing.
I think at this position, if I'm the Denver Broncos, I'm going cornerback. I'm going with Patrick Surtain. And the reason why I'm going with Patrick Surtain is, look at who they got on their roster. They got Kyle Fuller and Ronald Darby. You need a corner that's going to come in and kind of make some plays.
I think they take Justin Fields.
Yeah, Fuller fell into their laps. The Bears released him, and he's reunited with Vic Fangio. Darby's all right, but I get what you're saying.
I'm going
corner. There's so much value here, though.
It's a lot of dogs on there. You know they like edge rushers. Don't be surprised they get somebody the cat from Georgia. How you pronounce his name again? Ojulari. Don't be surprised.
That would be pretty high, but
you just never know.
I think they go Fields here, man.
I
think, Slater. This is a good point for Slater to go.
Yeah,
that's another option too.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith wouldn't be bad either.
You keep thinking, you keep forgetting he's on the board still.
So you got Judy,
Sutton.
Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. I mean, those are solid players. You got Noah Fant. I mean, he's a tight end. They can make some plays. So
I think you go Fields, unless you think
that's going to cause
unless Aaron's agent has called you and said, "Hey, we're going to Denver no matter what." I'm going Fields here.
Okay. Think about this.
They're not excited though.
What if Devonta Smith is still there for the Cowboys at 10? And think of two Alabama receivers and CeeDee Lamb in that receiving core, and that would get me pretty excited.
If Devonta Smith is still on the board, don't be surprised if the Eagles trade up. Don't be surprised if the Eagles come up here and get Smith, because I have heard that they are interested in jumping ahead of the Cowboys to get, but didn't happen.
I can't imagine the Dallas Cowboys taking a wide receiver.
Nah,
given their defensive mess.
Yeah, they got too many dogs.
They're going to get Surtain.
Yep.
I think that may be part of why Horn went off the board so fast, was Carolina clearly liked Horn more and wanted to get the corner without trading back.
I bet you Jerry's going to be pounding the table for Devonta Smith.
He does stuff like that.
That is true. I will say that.
Real Bigfoot, yeah.
How long does Devonta Smith stay on the board before we start talking about John Robinson trying to make a trade up?
Lock Daddy in the bathroom.
That 15?
We need a quarterback.
This has got to be Fields. This has to be Justin Fields, right?
You would think.
I'm going Fields here.
I'm going with Patrick Surtain or a corner
or
offensive tackle.
Poor Mac Jones.
Oh man,
He'll be all right. He had no business being in the talk above 15 anyway.
He really did have no business of being in the talk. I mean, I understand.
He'll be fine.
Could this be Mac Jones?
No. Boy, he almost made me cuss, man. But you never know.
I don't. Denver, it's hard to get a feel. New general manager. The coach doesn't seem like he really does much. Like
Vic Fangio.
I mean, no offense to him.
Let's see what
in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Pat Surtain Jr., defensive back, Alabama.
Todd McShay's first draft analysis.
Patrick Surtain gave up some big plays in the last couple of years, and I understand that and I see it on tape, but I love his length. I love his professional attack to the job that he has, and I love how physical he is. And you need a cornerback in today's game that's going to support the run, is going to go and be physical in the screen game, and he does all of those things. And I think he'll continue to get better as time goes on. He's long, he's physical, he's athletic, he has all the tools, and he's been raised to be a number one corner in the NFL.
Chris Sanders, the floor is yours. You called it. Patrick Surtain at 9 to Denver.
I mean, he just is. He's one of those. I'm not gonna say he's a rare corner, but he's one of those guys that can come up and press and be physical on the wide receiver. Because me and TD talk about this all the time, that you can't really touch the receivers. You got to have good hips. You got to be able to change directions, and you got to be able to explode out the cut. And that's exactly what Surtain is. I'm not saying he's all the way there, but he has the capability and the potential to become one of the good corners in this league.
He's a technician, man.
He's a technician.
That's what I love about him. And it's smooth. And outside of that Tennessee game, I mean, that guy pretty much held his own. You know, Josh Palmer got him. I like the pick. He's NFL ready. He's someone that will come in and you know, that will allow them to put Ronald Darby or even Kyle Fuller in there at the slot. So it definitely helps.
Chris, who would you rather go up against, Surtain or Horn, as a wide receiver?
I would want to go against Horn. You know, the reason why I go against Horn is because I double move his behind all day long. And the reason why I said it is because he's an aggressive corner. And when you have an aggressive corner, they're going to jump and they're going to read the quarterback's eyes. So if he does that, I'm going to stutter a little bit, make him set his feet, and I'm going by him. Because he's going to read the drop of the quarterback. He's going to read my hips. He's going to read my shoulders. He's going to read my eyes. And I'm going to go opposite of the way he's thinking because he's that aggressive.
And this is where this first round takes an interesting turn.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Because the Cowboys are seeing that J.C. Horn and Surtain are both off the board. Do they go Newsome? I mean, there are a bunch of other corners, or do they? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of other ways they can go. Do they take a lineman? Do they? There are a lot of different avenues they can explore. Or again,
do they go Farley?
Yeah,
I go offensive line.
Here's the thing about Jerry Jones. He should trade this pick. He's not going to trade it. I mean, he should trade it. Right now, I'm calling every team that needs a quarterback if I'm Dallas, and I'm saying you got Justin Fields, because I think the Eagles at 12 could be a player for Fields.
Well, and the Giants are going to take Devonta Smith if he's still there, because they absolutely have a huge need at receiver. You're right about that. But Dallas, they could go Rashawn Slater. They need offensive line help. And this is, I guess, TD, where you go to your best player on the board if you can't trade down.
And it has to be Fields. That's what's so crazy about it, man. Sheesh.
Yeah, they just emptied the
bank
vault.
I'm saying if you go best player on the board.
Oh, I know.
Did you say Fields to Dallas?
No.
He said he's best player on the board.
Oh, my bad.
If I'm Dallas, you're having a long talk. Greg Newsome or Caleb Farley?
I'm trading out if I'm Dallas.
Trading out is good, but you need somebody to dance with.
Sure.
I'm going with Mark. I'm going with Sean Slater. They need an offensive line big time. I mean, look at who they got on their offensive line. They got Tyron Smith, and they got Connor Williams. You need somebody that's nasty on that offensive line, because you look at why the Dallas Cowboys were so successful in the past years is because they had a dominant offensive line. They need to get back to that smash.
There you go. There it is.
They're Trey. And what I tell you,
in the division. Didn't
I tell you the Eagles will move up? Devonta Smith's the pick right here.
Wow. What do you think they get? Do you think they get probably a three or a 2?
Yeah, I think a 3. Maybe a 2. You charge more when it's in the division. Dallas has traded the 10th overall pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are on the clock. Devonta Smith?
Yes.
Devonta TD?
It's Devonta
Absolutely.
Smith. It's Devonta, because they are. I should be Justin Fields.
It's going to be something crazy.
Well, remember what they said.
I believe it's Smith.
Remember, Sirianni said the other day that Jalen Hurts wasn't the starting quarterback.
That was twisted. He didn't say Jalen Hurts directly. He said, I've only been here a couple days. I can't commit to anybody being the starter.
The coach talk of, every job is open every day for competition, whatever.
Yeah, but
I would say this, though, I like Jalen Hurts. Is Jalen Hurts the kind of prospect Justin Fields is?
they're about the same caliber of guys.
Jalen Hurts.
And I like Jalen, but
let me say this. And I'm saying this from a perspective of having been in that locker room for 2 years. That team, that group of guys, they are starving for leadership. Starving. Do you hear me? Mm-hmm. And that's why a large group of them wanted Nick Foles over Carson Wentz.
Yep.
That's why a large group of them, case in point, what's the running back from Penn State? Miles Sanders, right? After Jalen Mills, his first start when he won, they talked to him. You know what Miles Sanders said? This is what we needed. This is the kind of leadership that we needed at quarterback. Mm-hmm. I mean, Dad, go ahead. How damning is that on a quarterback?
Yeah.
So I think they're committed to Jalen Hurts. And I get that he and Justin Fields are similar prospects, but Jalen Hurts, you saw that offense come alive when he came in. And he's the guy. And I think, you got Jalen Reagor, now you put Devonta Smith in there. You got something to work with.
I'm going with receiver.
Yeah,
I'm going with Devonta Smith. I'm going with him. I mean, they need an explosive receiver. I mean, I know they have some solid guys on their roster, but you add him to the mix, and he's a game changer. When you have a game changer that can come in and make plays as a rookie, I mean, you got an impact player, and I think Devonta Smith is the guy.
Yeah, I think he is.
He's on the phone, too. See, there it is.
And the other thing that you have to look at is you want to make stuff easier for your quarterback.
Right.
So it goes back to what I was saying with Tua and the Dolphins. he gets separation quickly.
Yeah.
This guy may be the best route runner in this draft. You know, so you get that, you put it on the outside, and that gives you something.
But see,
Eagles. I'm sorry, Chris. Eagles got the 10 from the Cowboys. They swap picks, and the Cowboys get the Eagles' third-round selection.
I think that's a good trade for Dallas.
Yeah.
I think that's a good trade. I think Dallas is banking. You know, the Eagles want to jump up the Giants so that the Giants don't get Devonta Smith. I think Dallas is saying, okay, Rashawn Slater will be here with this pick. And I think that's the way they're going to approach it.
I mean, you look at Justin Fields and Hurts. I mean, you're basically dealing with two rookies. Does that make sense? So why go get another guy that you got to develop? So why not get the wide receiver that can come in and be an impact player as opposed to Justin Fields sitting on the bench and having developed two quarterbacks at the same time?
Absolutely.
So here's what I'm doing right now. If I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I am on the phone with the 14th pick, and I'm calling every team after 15, and I'm saying, who wants a quarterback? Because New England is getting a quarterback at 15 right now, the way the board is about to shake out. So if I'm Minnesota, I'm calling the Washington football team right now, and I'm like, do you want Justin Fields or Mac Jones? Because if you do, it'll cost you a second-round pick in next year's draft to dance.
Well, the pick is in.
I mean, I think it's very clearly going to be Devonta Smith here for Philadelphia. But I keep looking at the quarterbacks here. I mean, this is, you know, we thought there were going to be 5 quarterbacks in the top 10. I mean, I shouldn't say we thought. It had been rumored there was going to be 5 quarterbacks in the top 10, and they're still sitting out there, and New England is sitting. I mean, New England, everyone kept saying Belichick was going to have to trade up in order to get a quarterback. Belichick may have his pick of quarterback between Fields or Jones at 15.
Man, they better not let the Emperor get Justin Fields, man.
If they get, oh my gosh, if they get
better
him.
don't let them do that.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm Minnesota, I'll be honest. If I'm Minnesota, I may just take it myself.
Hey, listen, man.
Then call one of these Shanahan coaches and say, hey, I got Kirk Cousins. What do you want for Kirk?
You heard the soundbite. Justin Jefferson getting mad at Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
He did what now?
He cursed him out.
No way.
He was like, come on, Kirk, throw the effing ball.
On the towel.
He's wide open for about 3 seconds. Kirk throws it behind him.
Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious.
Yo, I tell you this, man. I remember
the Philadelphia Eagles with the 10th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The Philadelphia Eagles select Devonta Smith, wide receiver, Alabama.
That was too easy. Todd McShay's first draft analysis.
In 20 years of evaluating wide receivers, I have never seen someone have a better single season than Devonta Smith. I mean, this guy showed up when Jalen Waddle got injured, and when the team needed him so much. He's so competitive, and he is silky smooth. I compare him to Marvin Harrison. And Harrison he doesn't look like the number 1 receiver. He's not 6'4", he's not 220 pounds, but he knows how to get open. He's tough, he goes over the middle, he does the dirty work, and he's so explosive after the catch. I think Devonta Smith is going to be a star in the NFL.
There you go, those draft recaps presented by Apple Collision Centers. Devonta Smith to the Eagles. The Giants are on the clock. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. This is the Draft Show live from 3rd and Home on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Live from 3rd and Home in Germantown, you're listening to Draft Night in Nashville on Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Okay, Chicago is on the clock with the New York Giants pick at 11. Jared Stillman, Mark Howard, Ron Davenport, Chris Sanders. The Chicago Bears have traded the 20th overall pick, their 2022 first-round pick, their 5th-round pick this year, and their 4th-round pick next year in order to move up to 11. The pick is in. TD, you said you had a bomb right when we went to commercial break. That bomb has now been, I believe, disarmed.
Yeah, it's been diffused, man. They pulled the cord, they pulled the right color, and it's no longer ready to explode. I was going to say the Giants should draft Justin Fields. That was going to be my bomb, my take, because I'm not sold on Daniel Jones, and I don't think the Giants should be sold on Daniel Jones, and I don't think anyone should be sold on Daniel Jones because I don't think that he's it. That would have been a good pick, but you talk about that compensation. The Bears, they moved up. Now, the last time they moved up and they got a quarterback, it was Trubisky, and, we know how that worked out. I think Matt Nagy would have a lot of fun with a guy like Justin Fields, so I think he's going to be the pick here. But my bomb was going to be Daniel Jones being replaced, but it's not happening.
It'll happen probably soon enough if I had to take a guess. Roger Goodell is approaching the podium where the Chicago Bears, here you go.
I'm going with the quarterback.
Recovery from COVID-19 by focusing on the critical issues of mental health, food insecurity, health disparities, and the digital divide. Throughout the pandemic, health disparities widened in communities of color, indigenous communities, and for older and rural Americans. We're joining forces with the CDC Foundation as part of a draft-a-thon to meet the basic needs like nutrition, safety, and health. Carlos Nelson, who's behind me, has been doing just that, leading the Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corporation in Chicago. His dream of creating a federally qualified health center to provide medical care in his neighborhood is becoming a reality with support from the Chicago Bears, and it will open in 2022. Congratulations, Carlos, and please take it away with the Bears selection.
Boy, how exciting is this? With the 11th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, my Chicago Bears select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
Todd McShay's first draft analysis.
Justin Fields is still a work in progress in terms of going through his progressions, going from the number 1 receiver to 2, and waiting to see his wide receiver come open. But physically, I don't think there's a more talented quarterback in this class. And I'm including Trevor Lawrence in that conversation. And people are talking about him not having a great work ethic. He went vegan. I don't even know how he did that. And just watch him running that 4.44 in his 40-yard dash at the pro day, and look at his body and how hard he's worked to get to where he is. I think his best football is still ahead of him, and I think if he's in the right situation, he's going to be a star in the NFL.
So, TD, 4 years ago, I sat here on the draft show and just could not believe how Mitchell Trubisky could go ahead of Deshaun Watson just by watching college football. I watch a lot of college football. Justin Fields is a bad boy. Chicago gets him with the 11th pick. Your thoughts?
They atoned for their mistake. This is a move that I think is going to be outstanding for them.
Number 2 player on your board with the 11th pick.
Right, and here's the thing. Not only does this help your offense now and help your team now, if I'm Allen Robinson, I'm like, you know what, I might want to stay around here for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they got Darnell Mooney, you know what I mean, on the outside. Anthony Miller is a guy that they're considering trading. I think they're in really good shape now. He changes a lot, man.
I mean, the one thing I love about Fields is we say this about every quarterback, is he extends the pocket. I mean, he lets the play develop, and how it gets me so mad when people try to critique a player and say, oh, he doesn't go through his progression and do all this stuff. This guy wins ball games. He wins ball games. But look at who they have on their roster at quarterback. They got Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. Right now, I think Fields could come in and start right away.
I agree that he could come in and start right away. And the thing is, this whole thing about the progression.
Man, go on with that.
You know, a lot of times, Ryan Day is telling him, look, I need you to go here with the ball. If that's not there, you go here, and that's it. Mm-hmm. They're not giving him 3 or 4 projects. Daggum, I lost my words.
You good?
They're not giving him 3 or 4 of those. So that's a progression. So that's something. But here's another thing that's really interesting to me, because seeing him in that Big Ten, playing at Ohio State, playing in places like Northwestern, playing in places like Purdue, he has shown that his arm is able to cut through those elements.
Quarterback.
Yep.
That's a nice mix right there. Yep. I think this is a great pick for the Bears.
And he has a quiet confidence about himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a rah-rah guy. He brings great leadership to not the Tennessee Titans, to the Ohio State University. So I think that the one thing that Chicago Bears were missing was missing that leadership at quarterback. Now you got Justin Fields that comes in here to where he came from, the Ohio State, where they're used to winning. Now he can take the Chicago Bears to the next level.
Yep.
Mark, your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with what you guys said. I think that this is a good place for him to go. Matt Nagy gets the quarterback he really wants, and we'll find out. I mean, his job and Ryan Pace, the general manager, is really ride on how Justin Fields does. So I think he's going to be the starter next year, come hell or high water.
So the Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock with the 12th pick in the first round. And that means that we are 10 picks away from the Titans picking.
Go.
And this is what I do every time, and sometimes I get my hopes up and I know better than that. But the Dallas pick is in. There are 10 guys now before the Titans get a crack at somebody. It feels like, and we don't know how the corner market is going to play out on Greg Newsome, but it feels like one of these guys we've talked about, Azeez Ojulari, Jalen Phillips, Greg Newsome, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, it feels like if a couple more picks go by, and we know Rashawn Slater's coming off the board at some point, we know that Mac Jones is coming off the board at some point, we're starting to get out of the territory where we're going to start counting down picks before knowing that the Titans are going to be able to get a guy that we would feel comfortable with the 22nd pick.
You know, I would go if Newsome is there. I'm going to go get him. I mean, I'm not skipping to the podium. I'm running in a dead sprint, because if you look at the Tennessee Titans, they struggled up front a little bit, but the secondary really struggled. I mean, just like what TD said, but they gave up 36 touchdowns. I mean, that's absurd to give up 36 touchdowns in the secondary. He's an aggressive corner. He's got a nastiness about himself, and then he can go out there and do the job that he's capable of doing to make this defense better.
I just wonder if the pick is in. I wonder if Dallas goes Greg Newsome here.
Mm-hmm.
I
think they go Slater. I think they stayed in front of the Chargers.
Somebody from Northwestern.
They would go Slater before the Chargers, who definitely need offensive line help, go Rashawn Slater. But I could be off my rocker on this one. I mean, again, Dallas needs defensive help. Micah Parsons, I think, is out there. That could be a fit for Dallas here.
That's exactly where I went.
I think it's Rashawn Slater. I agree with Jared.
I'm going to go with Micah Parsons with Sean Lee retiring.
Mm-hmm. And Van Der Esch can't stay healthy.
Yep.
Who is this?
That's a fan they picked.
Oh, I thought they brought out a wrestler. I mean, it looks like a wrestler. Like the intro music walked out like a wrestler. Here we go.
Through Draftathon, we're partnering with Mental Health America to support resources for those that need it. Kenikia Bedrine, an Army veteran from Dallas, struggled with anxiety and depression after returning from Iraq. She turned her struggle into triumph and is now a licensed social worker who provides mental health counseling. Kenikia, we thank you for your service and all you do to continue to help others during this challenging time. Please do us the honor of making the Cowboys pick.
Oh my God! How about them Cowboys? Woo! Yes! And with the 12th pick
Keiper's first draft analysis.
6'3", 246-pounder with incredible 4.39 speed, tremendous athletic ability. He has what it takes to be that versatile, move him around linebacker. Keep in mind, in 2019, he opted out this year, but in 2019, 109 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. He was all over the field that year. Had he played this season, there would have been no doubt he would have been one of the elite players in this draft at any position.
Mel Keiper Jr.'s breakdown is presented by Apple Collision Centers. TD, we were kind of on that last second. Micah Parsons, maybe the 8th or 9th best player in the draft, goes at 12 to Dallas. Sean Lee retired. They still have Jalen Smith, and they still have Leighton Vander Esch, though Vander Esch can never stay healthy. What do we think of this pick?
This was my 9th best player in this draft. You know, so they obviously got a value here. It's really interesting. I love backstories. He's a guy from Harrisburg High School. It's the same high school as LaShawn McCoy. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the same area as Ricky Waters, if you remember him, and Marquise Colston. You know, so naturally, as an Eagles fan, I'm sure that it's going to be interesting in his household as far as the Cowboys are concerned. But this fits right in. I love the athleticism that he brings. Now you take him, and you got Jalen Smith next to him. This is really good. So it's a great fit, and like I said, there's tremendous value here. Remember, they moved back and got another 3rd-round pick. So they'll have a shot at a guy like a Kelvin Joseph or, someone like that, so they could get their corner still. I like the pick, man.
I mean, I like it, too. He's a ferocious tackler.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to run through your face. He's going to run through your lips. And also, he just made their defense even faster.
Exactly.
I mean, when you have a defense where you're a fast defense and you're putting pressure on the quarterback, also you're physical at the point of attack, it just made their defense exceptionally better.
So I want to think about this from a Titan standpoint while we have a second. The Chargers are on the clock. I think we can all agree with Sean Slater here with this pick for the Chargers.
Yes.
I would say yes.
That to me seems like a slam dunk. Let's take Slater off, okay? So now you're sitting there, and there's 8 picks to go before the Titans pick, or 8 players that would come off the board before the Titans pick. By my count, that means that Jalen Phillips, Azeez Ojulari, Greg Newsome, Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker, Christian Darrisaw, and one other player, say Rashad Bateman, could all go before the Titans would have a pick. If anybody else that's not from that group goes, then the Titans will at least have a tackle that I think we would say probably grades in that vicinity, a pass rusher, or Greg Newsome, the corner, or Elijah Moore or Rashad Bateman with that 22nd pick. Like, we're starting to get to the countdown of where we can say, okay, this is what it may look like the scenario is going to play out.
You know what's interesting? Christian Darrisaw is a guy that I wrote about, and I said it earlier, the Jack Conklin kind of switch to right. I like that pick. Now, obviously, it's not sexy, and, people won't be over there on the pedestrian bridge dancing, but they better not jump off either, because that is going to help solidify this team, and it's going to really support what they want to do. We know they want to run the football.
Sure.
So I wouldn't be mad at that pick, but just looking at this board, I would be surprised if both tackles aren't taken in the next 2 picks. And then you go down to the Patriots, it's probably going to be Mac Jones.
Yep.
Right? But now the Cardinals.
Unless somebody jumps New England to get Minnesota's pick to take Mac Jones so that New England won't take Mac Jones. But yes.
Yeah, but just looking at what it is right now.
Sure. Washington would be the team that I would figure if somebody was going to make a move on New England, it would be Washington to me to go get Mac Jones.
And that's fine, but either way,
sure.
You got one of them.
Yeah. They're both in front of you.
Yeah. I'm looking at 16 with the Cardinals. And
they need a corner.
Look, exactly.
They need a corner.
So Greg Newsome is probably going to be gone.
I don't know.
That's what they need the most.
I think they're going to take Slater. They
so
need
too.
O-line help.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I got Slater and Darrisaw going in the next 2 picks.
I agree with you.
So the Cardinals, the Raiders, I mean, Lord knows what they're going to do, man.
So I think the Raiders have to go offensive line because they've gutted that entire unit. But then again, to your point with Gruden, I mean, he's the ultimate wild card.
Right.
Because, he could take Rondale Moore with that pick, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
John Gruden, I don't know if there's any coach in NFL history who falls out of love with his players faster than John Gruden. It's unbelievable.
He does.
It's always their fault.
You know what I was thinking about just as you said that? John Gruden would love Chris Sanders because he was fast, and John Gruden 5 minutes later would hate Chris Sanders. I mean, you guys would, and then immediately, then two people get hurt, and then Chris would catch a bomb, and then John Gruden would love Chris Sanders again, go QB wide receiver 1. Here's where I'm starting to think for the Titans at 22. I'm thinking there's a good chance Jalen Phillips or Azeez Ojulari is there.
Yes.
Well, I think Minnesota's going to take one of them.
But you'll get one of them.
But maybe the Titans get the other.
Yep.
I'm starting to think.
Yeah, you know, the Colts, though.
Yes. The Colts could end up taking more. They could end up taking Ojulari.
The Colts, boy, I tell you what.
I'd be careful with the Colts, though. I tell them, I feel like I call them perpetual trader backers. If you look at Ballard, he loves to trade back. I think they're going to use the Titans as bait if there's something there to say, hey, you want a pass rusher? There's one left. Get in front of us. Or get to us to get in front of the Titans. But I'm with you. I'm starting to think there's a chance. I try to, wait until at least 10 picks out before I start to get a little excited about who the Titans may be able to draft because I've learned my lesson one too many times. But I'm starting to think there's a chance that one of these guys that we think could be a difference maker, Chris Sanders, will be available at that 22nd pick.
The cat from Georgia, I know I pronounced his name wrong, but Ojulari, I mean, I think he's going to be there. This is what we talked about earlier. I know you guys were like, okay, I'm high on Elijah Moore. I understand Elijah Moore, but I think he's going to be there in the second round for the Tennessee Titans maybe to get. I don't know. But if I'm sitting there and we need a pass rusher, I know we got Dupree, but also you add Azeez Ojulari to that mix of that with Simmons and Evans and all those guys. You just made the Tennessee Titans not just a good defense, but a fast defense if that guy's available.
I get what you're saying. I don't think he'll be there at 53, Elijah Moore.
Moore?
I don't think, because you got to look at the top. You got teams, the Jets, they may go that way. The Falcons may have to trade Julio Jones. Not the Dolphins, the Lions, I could see that one. I could see the Cowboys. There are other teams that I could definitely see take Elijah Moore. You got the Bears again, so it's going to be tough for him to fall. But still, that's all right because you got Amari Rodgers there. You got Rondale Moore that will probably be there too. If they don't go corner, Asante Samuel may be there. I think Asante Samuel and Tyson Campbell are interesting. They're interesting because with what's happening with these corners going like this, okay, is Caleb Farley going to – when is he going to –
So Arizona at 16, I think, is the team to watch on the corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. They're taking Greg Newsome.
So that's where I wonder, okay, if you're the Titans, do you think about calling the Raiders to try to jump up and get Greg Newsome, or is that too steep a price to pay?
No.
You don't move up.
The Chargers pick is in. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead.
Oh, I cut somebody off.
You don't move up to I like Newsome a lot. He's really good. But I don't think the separation between Newsome and Tyson Campbell. And look, man, Kelvin Joseph is a very good player. I don't know if he's going to be there at 85, but he's a very good player. That is an option.
Tyson Campbell's got size. He's got physical ability.
Footwork,
but I don't think
long speed.
But he gave up a lot of big plays last year.
He did, but I still think he's one of the better corners, and those are those are things that can be cleaned up.
But there's a corner from Syracuse, and I cannot pronounce his name.
Melifano, Melifano.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a guy like that you can. I can't pronounce his name, but here's a guy you can probably get maybe in the second or third round. So he's a good player, just like we talked about. He's got smooth hips, he's long, and he can actually play in that little slot, be a slot cornerback, and really make some plays for that defense.
So the Chargers pick is in, but I want to take 10 seconds for station identification. So let's do that before Roger Goodell gets out here.
Locally owned, WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, ESPN, 102.5 The Game.
This has to be the least exciting pick of the night outside of Trevor Lawrence because I think it's Rashawn Slater here with the Chargers pick. Roger Goodell
the Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater Jr., tackle, Northwestern.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
Here's a guy, guard in high school, comes in, right tackle, first couple years, then a left tackle, opted out this year, shot put and discus in high school. A kid who I thought when you looked at him against Chase Young at Ohio State in 2019, kept that great pass rusher at bay. He doesn't have necessarily the great length to be a left tackle, but hey, Brad Hopkins didn't as well coming out of college, and he had a great NFL career. So he could be a left tackle, at worst a right tackle or guard. Any which way you slice it, Rashawn Slater gets the maximum out of his ability.
So that was Mel Keiper Jr. Again, Mel Keiper Jr.'s breakdown presented by Apple Collision Centers. TD, let's take a look at the big board. The top 13 are all gone off of the TD big board.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do, man.
Let's take a look now at the new top 5 on the TD big board. The big board is presented by Founders Brewing. Right now, Caleb Farley, although with an injury shield next to his name, is the 14th best player on TD's board, the best available. Jalen Phillips, the pass rusher out of Miami at 15. That is a Titan target. Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC at 16. Azeez Ojulari at 17. And Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama, as the 18th best player. Those are the 5 best available on TD's big board. TD, it looks like the board is starting to shake a little bit in favor for the Titans, but it's still probably a little too early to get excited if you're John Robinson.
Yeah, there's still some hurdles, right? Christian Darrisaw, I could see him going to the Vikings here. And then the Patriots, I believe that's going to be Mac Jones. Cardinals, I feel that's going to be Greg Newsome. The Raiders, we said it. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe that's Tevin Jenkins. But it is shaping up nicely. I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do. That could be an area where Jalen Phillips or Azeez Ojulari goes. I don't think the Raiders are going to take either of them because they love Max Crosby. Mike Vrabel loves Max Crosby as well. They really did a lot of work on him before that draft. But you look at the Redskins or Washington football team, excuse me, let's be politically correct. You look at them, that's an intriguing team. And as you mentioned, could they move up? You know, will they go get a quarterback? I don't know. But the wild card for me, there's 2 wild cards.
Arizona.
It's Arizona with Greg Newsome.
Yep.
Actually, there's 3. Arizona with Greg Newsome, the Dolphins with Jalen Phillips or Ojulari, and then the Giants.
Well, the Raiders are a wild card because the Raiders are always likely to do something stupid.
By nature, they're a wild card.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the 3, like, actual wild cards.
Sure.
The other one is the Giants, and here's why. That's a place where I could see Elijah Moore going.
Really?
I could see him going to the Giants. They need receiver help, you know, and I know they got Kenny Galladay, but they don't have somebody to be a slot. You want to be quarterback friendly, right? They invested in Daniel Jones, albeit wrongly invested, but they did it. So I think you help out that poor investment by reinvesting into something that's really solid.
Oh, I think we got a trade.
The Titans?
The Jets, 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 they jump New England. Why would they jump New England? I mean, they're not taking Mac Jones.
No,
that I
they're
can
getting
guarantee
a pass
you.
rusher.
Yes.
They're either getting a pass rusher or it's Tevin Jenkins. It's going to be Phillips, Ojulari, or Jenkins.
I think Ojulari's gone.
I had Ojulari, or I had Phillips, I think, here. No, I had Darrisaw here at the 14th pick to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what I had.
But, so here are the Jets, a minute on the clock. Mark Howard, what do we make of this move from the Jets?
Well, the Jets I think they're going to take an offensive lineman. They drafted their quarterback, and now I think they draft their lineman.
Daggone, imagine that line.
Becton and Vera Tucker.
Yes.
Woo! Or
Darrisaw.
That's a good one.
Or whomever.
Or Jenkins.
I mean, I keep looking at this board. I mean, if the Jets don't go pass rusher here. Now, here's where the Jets are interesting. Is by making the deal, I assume that the 23rd pick has gone to Minnesota. In fact, I see that it has gone to Minnesota. Now we forget about the Vikings and what they may take off the board, because I thought the Vikings were a pass rushing team or defensive line team that could come off the board here, but they're behind the Titans now.
Vikings need an offensive lineman. That's what that boils down to.
Then why would you trade out of this pick?
Because they feel Tevin Jenkins will probably be there. Or they're looking at it. I mean, the Raiders made you got the Raiders and Dolphins. Washington, yeah, it's interesting, but they need an offensive lineman. Maybe they like Eichenberg. Maybe they like Dylan Radams. Maybe those guys. And we also have to see what they got.
Sure.
I mean, the Jets moved up 8 picks now, or 9 picks.
Who would fit your board right here? It would be Jalen Phillips would probably be the pick if they were going by your board, TD.
If they're just going by overall, like my board, it would be Farley. You know what I mean? But that's the other thing. It could be Greg Newsome.
You would go Farley on this pick?
No. I'm saying just by my
by
board.
going by the
Okay.
That's my 14th player.
Let's shield Farley out of this because of the injury. Then Phillips would be the best player available here.
Phillips
and you would get the
Vera
number
Tucker.
1 pass rusher in the draft if you drafted Jalen Phillips with this pick.
Yeah.
I'm going Ojulari.
Mark, how long until if you're John Robinson you start to get excited about what might be there at 22?
Oh, man.
A couple of
It
picks?
might be 18 or 19.
Why would they jump the Patriots, though, to do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, New England's not – they just signed Matthew Judon to that $60 million contract. So if you're going to jump the Patriots
here's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily jumping the Patriots. What if they were on the phones and they
trying
were,
to jump the Raiders?
They kept working and working and working.
Yeah.
They said, all right, well, we didn't want to go up to 14, but
Sure.
dadgummit, you guys are the only ones.
Well,
that
and if
can
you're
do
New
it.
England and you're sitting there, you're not trading back to 23 or wherever that second Jets pick is because you're trying to draft Mac Jones. So if the Jets called and said, hey, we'd like to move up to 15, you're not going to say yes because you're trying to go get the Mac Jones pick.
You don't want to go beyond Washington.
No. I'm a little surprised Washington wasn't in the mix on this pick. But I keep wondering where and how long, how far are we, how long away are we before we can start Chris Sanders to just get a little excited by what the Titans may be able to pick at 22.
But I think we're going to get an impact player. I mean, that's what it's exciting about where the Tennessee Titans are at. The one thing I hope that the Tennessee Titans don't do is trade down. If they trade down, then I'm going to be upset because you're going to have some quality impact players. I think Ojulari is going to be there. I think Phillips might be there. I think they're going to have a chance to pick maybe an offensive tackle. So there's going to be some value at that 22 position. So they just got to be smart and hold their guns and hope their player that they want falls at 22.
Titans on the clock at 22. That'll probably be, I would guess, in an hour. Maybe an hour and a half when we would get to 22. But that is the Two-Tone Blue update, which is presented by MTGRT.com. The trade is in as far as what the Jets had to give up in order to move with Minnesota. So, again, the Jets are on the clock here with the 14th pick. They already took Zach Wilson. Vikings trading out. Let's see. I think Ian Rappaport has what the compensation is. Again, on the trade.
It was 2 third-round picks.
2 third-rounders. That's a big move. 2 third-rounders is not the end of the world in order to make that move. So perhaps Minnesota doesn't like anything on their board right now.
Man, what's not there to like? There's some quality players there.
I'm just saying, I think maybe Minnesota thought, you know what, if we don't get Slater here, then the difference between Elijah Vera Tucker and Tevin Jenkins isn't that big. It's worth the 2 extra players we're picking up by adding 2 third-round picks this year.
I think 2 third-round picks is pretty solid compensation.
No, sure, for sure.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? And they can move back and still get a solid player.
So Goodell's approaching the podium. Who goes here?
Man, I'm going to say Jalen Phillips.
I say Ojulari.
With the 14th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Elijah Vera Tucker, guard, USC.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
6'4.5", 308. Really strong, 36 reps, very athletic, did a really good job at left tackle where he was forced to play this year at USC. Up until that point, he had been that guard, left guard with some right guard experience. That's going to be his spot in the NFL. He could be the next Quentin Nelson. Certainly a guy like Zach Martin, that guard that will be a Pro Bowler and really elevate the play of your offensive line.
Elijah Vera Tucker, TD, I mean, I don't want to get worked up about what Mel just said, but the next Quentin Nelson, that seems like a little bit of a stretch to me.
Quentin Nelson was a top level pick, top 10 pick. So I wouldn't go that far, but I get what he's saying. And you look at when you have quarterbacks, what's the best way to make them comfortable? What do they hate the most?
To get hit on the blind side.
That, but they also hate pressure up the middle. They don't want that pocket getting pushed back into their face. So getting a guard at this point, I mean, he was my 16th ranked player, so there's still value there. Obviously, giving up 2 third-round picks is questionable. I don't know that he would have went in the next couple picks, to be honest with you. So maybe they know better than I do how this thing is going.
But with that pick, Jared, I want to get your take on this.
Sure.
With that pick right there, does that benefit the Tennessee Titans getting the kind of impact player that they're probably going to get with a lot of guys still being available?
I only think so because I don't think Vera Tucker was really a target for the Titans, and the more non-Titan targets that fall off the board as you get closer to the Titans pick, Mark Howard, I think you have to feel pretty good about it. New England's pick is already in. I'm pretty sure that Bill waited. Bill probably called the Jets and said, "Are you taking Mac Jones?" They probably said no. He probably said, "All right, just send it in."
Mac Jones.
The Patriots do not have a fully vaccinated draft room, as NFL Network puts up there whose draft room is fully vaccinated and who's not, and Belichick with his mask below his nose.
I believe Bledsoe was the last quarterback they drafted in the first round.
Wow.
Well, when you have the greatest one for 20 years,
I know.
You get lucky enough to. But then again, that didn't stop Green Bay last year from drafting a quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, I would say this one is probably the most simple pick of the night. Mac Jones of the Patriots.
All right, you never know, man. Something crazy could happen. I'm telling you.
What if Belichick hates Mac Jones?
He might.
Well, we'll find out in about 30 seconds.
What if he picked a punter?
I mean, if you're Belichick,
he just fell in your lap.
I mean, this is a guy we were talking about 5 hours ago, 3 hours ago, being the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
Can I say something really off topic?
Sure.
I don't know who the chef is.
Here at 3rd and Home?
But these wings are off the hook. And I apologize for being quiet, but I'm trying to go to work on these wings, man. Shout out to the chef.
That's okay.
Great
Get
job.
back to it. The Patriots are on the clock.
Teamed up with Feeding America as part of Draftathon to help fight hunger. Don Cox, who's behind me, a former Marine, saw a need in his community and started providing food to fellow veterans. He and his team have provided more than 5.6 million meals in 10 different states through Food for Vets. Don, thank you for your service to our country and for helping those facing food insecurity. The stage is yours to make the Patriots pick. Go get him.
With the 15th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the 6-time world champion New England Patriots select Mac Jones.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
Well, back in August, he looked like a 5th-round pick. Then he emerged as an elite quarterback based on his level of consistency week in and week out, putting up great numbers even without Jalen Waddle. When Waddle got hurt October 24th, lost his center Landon Dickerson for the semifinal and championship game, yet he did not miss a beat. Accurate to all levels, supremely intelligent, highly competitive, and a winner. He has everything it takes as a pure pocket passer if he's protected by his offensive line. Same thing we said about Tom Brady coming out of Michigan. Protect him, and he'll get the job done.
So about 3 hours ago, we thought he may be the 3rd overall pick. We've spent about 5 months, Mark Howard, talking about how much Belichick has to trade up or what's Belichick going to do. Mac Jones sits on his butt at 15 and still gets him. Belichick wins again. Everybody else just out here playing checkers.
Well, we'll find out if Belichick won,
Exactly.
but he got the guy that he wanted, or so it seems. You know, we always talk in absolutes in these situations. And maybe they could have liked 2 or 3 quarterbacks. But, obviously taking Mac Jones in the first round, made a lot of sense.
It works for them. He fits what they want to do, right? They want a guy who's efficient with the football, knows where he wants to go with it, a guy who can point stuff out and change protections, all that stuff, right? All the cerebral stuff. He definitely fits it. I just want to see, you're not behind an offensive line that is consistently better than the opposing team.
Mm-hmm.
You're not throwing to a group of receivers, 2 of which were taken in the first round. And guess what? Michi, he's going to be a first-round pick next year, too. Yeah. So let's recognize that. And you're also not turning around and handing the ball off to a guy who will likely be the first-round pick, too. So I want to see how he's able to fare away from all of that.
Arizona is on the clock now at 16. It was 10 minutes. And immediately, bang, the pick is in, according to ESPN.
Newsome.
It's got to be, right?
It's got to be Newsome.
I mean, so this is the one now where we really start to look at the Titan targets. And, Chris Sanders, feels like this is the first one where we didn't expect Greg Newsome to be there.
Right.
But I think this is going to confirm our beliefs with this Arizona pick.
But I still think it benefits the Tennessee Titans. Say if they do take Arizona still takes Newsome, you still got some quality picks. We got Ojulari, we got Phillips from the University of Miami. So even though they may not get the quarterback, they're still going to get an impact player. And I think it's going to be a great moment when they select the 22 because they're going to get an impact player, but also they're going to really help this Tennessee Titans team.
Mark, how do you see the board developing if Arizona goes Newsome here for the Titans?
Well, like you said, I mean, we're going to find out how much they really like Caleb Farley, and like we said, he doesn't seem like a great risk, especially in the first round. You start thinking pass rusher, or the next run of receivers, and who leads that off? It could be Bateman, it could be the 2 Moores.
So I don't want to throw out who this. I mean, TD, I don't know if we should. Not official yet, but we'll see where Arizona goes here. But they may be throwing a curveball at us.
All right?
They may be throwing a curveball here if Newsome doesn't go here. And I'm just looking at it right now, and 5 picks after this Arizona pick, 5 picks. If Newsome isn't the pick here, and neither one of TD's targets is the pick here. And again, to reset it, TD's 5 Titan targets, Greg Newsome, Azeez Ojulari, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Tevin Jenkins. If one of those guys is not the Arizona pick right here, then the Titans will be able to get one of those guys at a bare minimum. And that's where I think you can get excited if you're John Robinson.
I think it's time to get excited if you're a Titans fan.
Seriously.
I think it is. This was the one hurdle that I felt would be in the way for one of these top 5. Mm-hmm. The other hurdle is right there at 20. And you got another one at 21 too, but those are 3 hurdles. You still got the top 5 out there.
Man.
And this pick, I don't believe what I believe will be this pick, what I've been told will be this pick, is not any of the guys in that top 5. So
that is huge.
That's major.
And obviously Arizona likes this player more than I like this player if this is who they pick. But Roger Goodell is at the podium.
The Arizona Cardinals select Zaven Collins.
That's my dude. Todd McShay's first draft analysis.
Zaven Collins is a beast. I mean, physically, you just look at him, and he has everything that you want. He's got the length, he's got the size, the physicality. He's a 3-year starter at Tulsa, and he dominated his level of competition. He's a dynamic player, and he's a versatile linebacker. And I love that about him. He can be an off-the-ball linebacker, but then you can push him over as a 3-4 outside linebacker and let him run loose going after the quarterback. So there's nothing that Zaven Collins can't do. That's why he's one of the premier linebackers in this class.
There you go. Zaven Collins off the board. Not a Titan target. I mean, could have been a Titan target, but 16 for Zaven Collins off the board.
John Robinson was at his pro day and jumped in the drills with him. But, hey, man. This thing is looking kind of tight.
It is. It really is.
Again, there are 5 picks to go before the Titans pick. And TD's top Titan targets, Greg Newsome, Northwestern, Azeez Ojulari, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Tevin Jenkins. Unless all 5 go with the next 5 picks, the Titans are going to be in good shape. Let's take a quick timeout. Then we are right back. All Titans until they pick. We're live. It's the Draft Show, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Live from 3rd and Home in Germantown, you're listening to Draft Night in Nashville on Nashville's best sports talk,
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Mac Jones is a Patriot at 15. The Arizona Cardinals go off the board at 16 with Zaven Collins. The Raiders are on the clock at 17 to pick his end. But guys, Teron Davenport, we started with his 5 Titans targets. Greg Newsome II, Azeez Ojulari, Elijah
Yep.
Moore, Rashad Bateman, Tevin Jenkins. Unless the Raiders pick one of these guys and then the 4 teams then take all of those guys, the Titans are guaranteed to be able to get one of those guys, and that doesn't even include Jalen Phillips. Raiders
2021 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Alex Leatherwood, tackle, Alabama.
Okay, so there we heard the reaction from Bart Scott in real time. I don't know if your mic was...
Sam E.
Oh, my goodness.
Is going on.
Alex Leatherwood. Hey, did we not say when we were talking about wild cards of this draft, and we kept saying the Raiders? Here they are. TD, where was Alex Leatherwood on your board?
I never heard of the dude.
I had Alex Leatherwood. Jeez. I didn't have him in my top 50, to be frank with you.
Jeez.
That John Gruden is such a, oh my goodness. This is such a Raider pick. This is such a Raider pick. This reminds me of the draft in Nashville when Cleveland Farrell went 4th overall.
They took Alex Leatherwood over Christian Darrisaw. I'm all for having your opinion and sticking to it and respecting what your board is. But let me tell you something. Wow. This is a pick that I don't know, man. And that's just like last year they took the corner early. I mean, this is back-to-back years, man. Mike Mayock and John Gruden. I don't know what. Hey, look.
That's like the Tommy Mansky back-to-back AAU national champions. Fully endorsed by Fred McGriff, I might add.
You ever hear that saying, did the cat got your tongue?
Yeah.
Snatched it right out of my mouth. I don't know what to say, man. I mean, it's just out of the ordinary. The Raiders do this every single year, and they keep getting the same results every single year. I don't understand.
I will say this. I know Mike Mayock is big on the Senior Bowl, and I will admit he was impressive down there. He had a lot of battles in those one-on-ones, and he was impressive. He's an Alabama offensive lineman. I don't know about top 20. I think second round.
He's a solid player.
Yeah.
But it's 17?
That's what I'm saying.
So now I think you reset the board, taking a look at TD's big board. Caleb Farley at 14, still the best player available, although with an injury situation. Jalen Phillips at 15, Azeez Ojulari 17, Najee Harris 18, Travis Etienne at 20. The Titan targets. Again, they are guaranteed to be able to pick one of the following players. Jalen Phillips, Azeez Ojulari, Greg Newsome, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Tevin Jenkins. If I had told you that going into the day, that they would be guaranteed to get one of those players, what would you guys have said?
What you talking about, Willis?
Basically, I'd have hit you with the Ocho. Child, please.
I mean, little Chris Johnson.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. You know the Titans have known to do some crazy stuff also.
That is true.
Is if they trade down, would you pull every hair out of your head right now?
No.
Dolphins pick is in.
They can't get them all.
I know they can't get them all, but I know I just want, because there's a lot of great players right now that they can take. I just don't want.
I want to see where Miami and the Giants, who are picking at 20, go.
I think they're going with from Georgia. Go ahead.
Well, by the way, the two-tone blue update is presented by MTGRT.com, and TD's draft board presented by Founders Brewing. The Dolphins pick is in at 18. Where do we think the Dolphins are going? Here's what I'm worried about. The Dolphins take Jalen Phillips. The Giants at 20 take Azeez Ojulari. That's my big fear right now as Roger Goodell heads to the podium. What do we think quickly? Who goes here?
I'm going Ojulari.
That's what I'm going with. Chris. That's exactly what I'm going with.
Goodell to the podium.
In the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Phillips, defensive end, Miami.
Mel Kiper's first draft analysis.
Came out of high school as the #1 recruit, goes to UCLA, has 3.5 sacks, but injuries really hindered his performance there. Ends up at Miami, and he has that one great season in 2020. Took over